All right, we are good to go. All right, good evening, everybody. Happy Friday and also happy NHL Draft Day. I was not initially planning on doing a video here because I wasn't really prepared for it, but I figured that there's enough moving parts going on right now to where potentially we could see some pretty big storylines go down. This is going to be a very interesting offseason for a lot of teams, Carolina being one of them. And I'm interested to see how this draft shakes out. So, what I need you guys to do for me in the comments there, if there is any up to date news regarding Guentzel, Necas, anything like that, preferably from what you can determine to be reliable sources, please throw that in the chat. Additionally, on the broadcast itself, I have it muted so that it doesn't interfere with the mic. And I've got the subtitles on at the moment. I will try it with the sound on to see if it interferes too much with the sound in here, just so I can try and keep up with everything going on. Additionally, I have the TSN draft tracker pulled up, and I also have X pulled up here to look for periodic updates of things. We may or may not be joined by some of the guys from Caniac Sessions and Caniac Report. If they can make it, they have links and they will drop by as they can. So let's see what we got here. Nothing new there yet. All right. So we're still waiting to see what happens here. But yeah, so basically that's all that I've got right now. I know it's a Friday night. People probably already had plans if they weren't able to even like really make it to watch the draft and everything like that. That's all well and good. Let's see if we've got anything else up here. Cool. Dylan, good to see you, pal. I'm still opening for Jake after what I heard about Martin 90K if I want him to stick around. Yeah, if you're referring to the thing about, hey, Matthew, I'm sorry. Let's go. I want Demidov. That's a distinct possibility if Necas gets traded to Columbus. So the Necas thing, I think I know what you're talking about. The Necas thing, where he said that he was looking forward to going over to Czech Republic to play in the World Hockey Championship once they were down 3-0 and everything like that. One thing we have to consider with that article, and I was going along with the joke on X about it and everything where they were saying he was Holla 2.0 and all this other stuff. I even made some jokes about it. A little different take on that I have. This is my serious take. That was my joking take. That article was translated from Czech, and it may have not come across as it was supposed to. If Marty Necas had been interviewed in English in a candid situation and been able to say that, it might have not come off that way. So in that regard, I got to give Martin Necas the benefit of the doubt. And what it seems that it comes down to, and Corey Laviolette talked about this, it seems like the teams have just come to an impasse that was inevitable. Martin Necas wants to play center. He wants to play a certain way. And the Hurricanes as an organization, particularly the coaching staff, will not allow him to do that. And I think that they're just looking for that good mutual separation at this point. So, like I said, I've seen that article, but sometimes those translations, especially like the AI ones or the Google ones, sometimes they get things wrong. And there's some things that you just can't have a one-for-one direct translation with at all. So that might be the case. So we'll keep going through comments here. All right, so we got some action going on here on the draft floor. Demidov would be great here. Dropping by to show some love. Really hope we keep Jake. Yeah, I'm hoping for it too, man. I'm confident we will. I think that here's what I think is going on with that. You may remember last season when Jordan Staal was getting his contract hammered out, and some people were starting to worry, or some people were wanting him to leave, were getting hopeful that he was going to leave, that he was going to hit free agency and everything like that. And ultimately, he didn't. And the biggest thing that was holding up that deal was the language of the trade protection. It's probably that, or at least something similar to it. Like the numbers have probably already been ironed out with Jake. It's the small things, even though those aren't really small things, those are very important. I think that that's what they're hammering out with Jake right now is any form of no movement, no trade clause, buyout protection. Corey Lavalette said the same thing earlier. And, the numbers have probably already been agreed on. Dylan also says that was what I was talking about. Yeah, that's why I think that maybe, just maybe, that might have been translated incorrectly. And, it's like I didn't really figure this out until after I'd been overseas and, been out in the world for a little while. English is an incredibly hard language to learn, and it's also really, really hard to translate it. Like I have friends that I knew in the Navy that were linguists and everything, and they said that like they don't know how anybody can learn English as a second language proficiently as quickly as some of some people they knew who did, because English is an incredibly hard language to learn and it's also hard to translate. So that may have not been what Martin Necas was trying to convey at all. But the joke was still funny, the whole Holla 2.0 thing, especially when New Jersey jumped in on potentially being the one who got him and everything. So let's see what we got. Everybody start booing. Bettman's at the podium. Frank the Tank says, good point on benefit of the doubt. Very reasonable. Yeah, I have a feeling, and Dylan says that's what I was talking about. Yeah, I have a feeling that he didn't actually say that because, typically when players are like locker room problems or they don't get along with their teammates, and especially in this day and age, in the digital age, you hear about it. Whereas now, that's not really the case. And with Necas, like, I never heard anything about him being a locker room problem. Yeah, maybe he's got a little bit of an ego, but if I was that good at hockey, I think I'd have a little bit of one too. But I don't think that it's a purely like an issue with him fitting in with the locker room character wise. I think it's just the way that he plays and the way he wants to play. The rigid defensive system of Carolina is never going to allow him to do that. And I think it's just time for both parties to part ways. So I'm going to unmute it here in a second as soon as Bettman is done running his yap. Until then, I will see this other comment from Dylan. Jake, Seth, Jack, Jordan are the ones I want to keep, and if we can keep Brady, the better. Yeah, I'm not worried about Jordan. If you're referring to Jordan Martinook, I'm not worried about him going anywhere. I think that they're just waiting on everything else to get hammered out so they can give him as much money and as much term as possible. Jack, he's not going anywhere. I think the only reason they haven't signed him yet is pretty much similar reasons. The only difference is if they don't go ahead and give Seth Jarvis an 8-year deal now, they will probably bridge him and give him an 8-year deal later. I think that they're just kind of waiting on that to hammer out. Jack Drury, I'm not sure about. I think that kind of depends on who we keep at center. And Guentzel, I'm hoping that he'll stay. I know this has nothing to do with the Canes, well, kind of, since he is a fan also, but I think you commented on a Ryan Blaney post I commented on the other week. Yeah, I did. I remember which one you were talking about. Yeah. That's actually, I would say motorsports in general. Auto racing is like my third favorite sport behind hockey and baseball, and it's a very close third. I would say it and baseball are like my toss-up for my second favorite sport. I do a lot of sim racing stuff too. My dad actually he raced a little bit. He was like not in NASCAR Cup Series or anything like that, but he's really good and everything like that. So let's see. All right, they're doing the first pick now. Hold that thought, guys. I'm trying not to have it too loud because I don't want to get copyright struck for secondhand garbage audio. It's hard to hear it with these headphones on too. They've actually got pretty good noise cancellation. But yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember commenting on something in regards to Ryan Blaney last week. The company that he owns part of, Flag and Anthem, I actually have some of their jeans. They're really good. Jesus Christ, Celebrini is nasty. Holy God. Wish I'd just go ahead and get this pick over with. We already know who they're picking. BTS, what's up, buddy? Hello, sorry I'm late. Hey, no problem, pal. I wasn't planning on doing a stream tonight. The next one I plan on doing, if I still do it, Monday night, I'm going to do one just because it's free agency day. So that I'll have something going on for. And then that'll be pretty much it for me for about a week. Like I said, I'm going to log out of X. I'm going to log out of YouTube. I just need a break from everything. And then I'll come back and I'll start getting ready to cover prospect camp. And then before you know it, the season's going to be starting. It's only, I think, 88 days away now. The schedule's getting announced on the 2nd. That's something else I'll cover. When I get back, what I plan on covering is essentially I'm going to profile some of our draft picks, do a little bit more deep dive on some of the prospects that could potentially make the team next season, talk about maybe the theme nights and the schedule for next year, because I'm not planning on coming to Raleigh as much next season. What I'm going to try and do, I want to start going to more road games. And me living by DC, I'm actually really, really close to a lot of places. I could go to I could go to Philly. I could go to New Jersey. I could go to Pittsburgh. I mean, I might get, 100 people might throw me off a cliff in one of those, but I died a Caniac, so be it. So let's see here. What else is going on? Mine is hockey and racing. I'll watch other sports just for their playoffs. Yeah, I do watch regular season baseball, but I don't have to sit down and watch 162 games. But when the baseball playoffs come on, as soon as the Canes are done playing that night, unless it's like the World Series, then I'll prioritize baseball. Or even if it's like the NLCS, I'll prioritize baseball that night. But for the most part, I'll watch the Braves here and there as I can. I really like going to baseball games, and then I'll switch over to like watching hockey when it comes on in October and everything like that. So it all depends. All right, Mike Greer is up at the podium. He's doing the whole spiel thing. Yeah, I'll get to all your comments, guys. I promise. We'll have some time in between selections. Wow, Jumbo Joe, what's up, bro? Dude, like he looks like super cleaned up. He's got a nice haircut. The beard's trimmed a little bit, and yeah, it looks like he's enjoying retirement. That dude could probably still play if he really wanted to. Like, absolute Iron Man. And as expected, Macklin Celebrini goes first overall. So I will say this: if by chance this comes in earshot of any Sharks fans, you guys are going to be good again. It'll take you about 4 years, but they have a really, really good young core between Celebrini, Smith, um, I'm trying to remember his name, Shakir Muhammadulin, I believe is how it's pronounced. They've got a pretty good prospect pool. And that other Finnish guy, I can't remember his name. I actually profiled him as one of the potential Canes draft picks in the first round last year. He's going to be really good and everything like that. So the expected first overall pick went, and we'll see if there's any trades here or anything like that. That's one of the reasons I'm looking at the TV so much. I'm really, really looking for a trade like of Necas here and everything like that. Because if Carolina's going to get a high pick for it, it's crunch time. BTS says I'm probably going to get a new profile pick. Yeah, that one's cool that you got though. It doesn't hurt to change it up. BG Edits made so this was not my original logo, the one that I have now. BG Edits made me a new one. I gave him what I wanted and he said, okay, cool. And he took it in a completely different direction and it turned out even better. I'm like, you know what? Next time I need something done, I'm just gonna be like, hey, here's an idea. And I'm just going to let him run with it because that dude, he does some crazy stuff. Frank the Tank says also a big NASCAR guy. Since it's come up twice, Blaney is my current guy. Mark Martin was a guy who I grew up liking. Yeah, all my favorite race car drivers are retired or dead. It's like, Junior's retired. Of course, his dad passed away many, many years ago. I really liked Mike Skinner when he raced, Kevin Harvick. But yeah, all my favorite drivers are they're long done racing. BTS says it's almost 100% that we signed Guentzel. Yeah, it's looking that way. Like I said, I really think, and I said it in the beginning of the show before you got in here and everything, I think that they're just hammering out the trade protection at this point. I really think that that's all it is. Who are you hoping we get? Is there one guy that is a must or a handful? I'll admit I don't know much about the prospects this year. So I don't know a ton about them this year. I will defer to Matthew Powell down here, though. He's been really big on the idea of us getting I'll explain this in a minute. He's been really big on the idea of us trading up to get Demidov, and I'm pretty on board with that. Like I like that kid. Like I've seen a lot of his highlights at Hockey News Hub posts, and I think that he'd be a really good fit with the Canes and everything like that. Oh, that's really cool. San Jose's having a draft party inside of SAP Center. Matthew Powell says, is it possible they would announce Guentzel signing during the first round tonight? I think if you see a Guentzel signing announced during the first round tonight, that is done by way of Martin Necas getting traded. If you see Martin Necas get traded, I'm pretty sure that means Guentzel is signed. So it would just, one would be indicative of the other, I think. Sam Makel says, Rip Dion, you were the greatest of Canes Angels. We will miss you, but I think of you anytime I see Brett Pesci. I can narrow you down to about 3 or 4 different X accounts, whoever you are. Oh, wait. I know who you are. I gotcha. Good to see you, pal. You should be a Blaney guy like us. He's a Canes fan, so there's that, and he has more personality than most of the drivers, and also a champion. Yeah, I just don't really have a driver. I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, I'm going to get hated for this. I'll say Kyle Busch. That's about the only one that I really want to see win now. I mean, I'm not against a lot of other guys winning, but that one's just it's cool to see. Um, I think I like drivers that everybody else hates. I grew up an Earnhardt fan, so it's like, and a lot of people hated him. Let's see. Okay, this is actually something I wanted to talk about a little bit earlier. Here's how good the Sharks the core they're building around: William Eklund, Will Smith, Quentin Musty, Shakir McCamadoulan, and oh man, the rest of them disappeared. I know another one was Quentin Musty. Like they're going to have a good team in a few years as long as they don't pull like the pre Connor McDavid era Oilers. They'll be fine. Yeah, he is. Going to RCR is not panning out for him long term, I don't think. So let's see. Let's see what we got here. The Hawks will have their selection here momentarily. Then after that, it'll be Anaheim and Columbus. See, what I'm really watching on the clock right here is if there's a trade between now and the time that Anaheim makes their pick, because the first team that we have the potential to trade Necas to is at number 4 with Columbus. So I'm keeping an eye on that. See if we got any updates on X here. Not yet. Okay, so the CBJ Center says, per Elliot Friedman on Sportsnet leading up to the draft, Columbus Blue Jackets rejected a package for the 4th overall pick from Carolina centered around Martin Necas. All right, so maybe he will not get traded to Columbus then. All right. Okay, let me mute this. Leia Hextall's talking. Okay. Let's see. What team do you think improves the most next season? That's tough. See, here's what's weird about it. Columbus now is kind of like where Carolina was at when they broke the drought in 2019. They could potentially be a team that does that a whole lot. There's a lot of moving parts, too. The Western Conference is about to turn into an arms race. If I had to pick a team that was going to improve the most, that I don't know. I'd have to give that some thought. I can't give you a straight answer on that one. I really can't. I'm sorry. I have to give it some research because I feel like so much is going to change between now and the start of the season. Like, and this is just the beginning of the roller coaster. Like, I'm pretty sure that even there's typically not a ton of major trades like in July. I think that there's the potential to see trades still in July and August in this offseason if they don't all shake out in the first couple of weeks. Matthew Powell says lame. Lame that we won't get the 4th overall pick, LOL, but honestly, they shouldn't. Demidov should be picked 2nd, and anyone who passes on him now is going to regret it. You could be absolutely right about that, dude. Like I said, I've not kept up with the prospects as much as I wanted to this season, but Demidov looks pretty damn good. I'm just wondering who we're actually going to draft. Man, this poor kid, he's already having to talk to Leia Hextall, and he's not even in the NHL yet. I feel like I'm the only one who doesn't think Skinner would work as a Cane anymore as much as I would want him to. So here's my whole opinion on the Jeff Skinner thing, and I've talked about it on previous episodes, especially with Sam Driscoll. I am not someone who dislikes Jeff Skinner. I liked him a lot when he played here. When Carolina traded him initially, I was pissed. I was severely pissed. As time went on, you know how they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. I never felt that way about Skinner, and I don't think he'd be a good fit now. I do understand we have to start replacing the offense at some point if we were to lose Guentzel, Necas, Shea, Nason. It has to start coming from somewhere. Skinner should be pretty far down the list of other options. If we go and get Nikolai Ehlers and Anthony Duclair, guys who can chip in offense and will fit the system, will have the speed, will have the forechecking, will have the 200-foot game, we can replicate a lot of that scoring. And as difficult or as crazy as it may sound, you could potentially increase how good this team is defensively, have more shot suppression, prevent more zone transition, all that type of stuff. And guys like Ehlers and Duclair and ones like that will also help the system because it's a very, very arduous system, but it works. It hasn't got to the end yet, but I think it will. Does it need some tweaks? Yes. Do I want them to have more scoring off the rush? Absolutely. Let's see what else we got here. Matthew Powell says at 27th, there are several Russians I hope are also available. Also, Teddy Stiga is a guy I really like for us. Yeah, I don't know much about him. Like I said, I didn't really keep up with the prospects this year. My keeping up with the prospects this year is going to be me retroactively doing research on the players that we draft and then putting a presentation together about them later. BTS says, fun fact about the Cam Ward card I showed you, I got it signed and then completely forgot about it. That's pretty funny. Yeah, Wardo, that's another guy I feel bad for, along with Eric Stahl and, Jeff Skinner for that matter. They never really had a really good team around them for a long period of time. Otherwise, things would have been different. That's where Rutherford should have been a little bit more, into a rebuild mode and trading guys and everything like that. All we need is Demidov to slide all the way to 27th. Yeah, I wish that would be great. But let's see. The Chicago Blackhawks drafted Artem Levshonov. Okay. I didn't think he would go that high. I thought he'd go about 4th or 5th based on a lot of the mock drafts I saw. It is really cool because he's the first Belarusian guy, I think, to be drafted in the top 5 in the NHL. He might be the first Belarusian guy in the first round, actually. I mean, but so far, Demidov's only got to slide 25 more spots. We flip over here and see if there's any more news, because the group chat that a bunch of us are in, not just this one, but a lot of us are in the Hurricanes 24-25 one. You know what? Someone in here made a good point. If they offered up that package to Columbus and Columbus rejected it, if they're trying to actively trade Necas on the floor, that must mean the Guentzel deal is done. Someone made a good point about that in here. So shout out to, let me see which one it is. One of these crazy burner accounts with all their funny memes. Pyotr Kochekov's stick said, we wouldn't be willing to offer that trade if Guentzel wasn't done, right? I have to believe that. I really do. I don't think we'd be trying to actively trade Martin Necas on the floor if Guentzel wasn't, if they wasn't pretty much a guarantee he was going to come back. They might be waiting for the draft to end tonight before they announce it, or they might wait to announce it in the morning so that way it's big news. Because if you announce it right now, it's not going to gain a whole lot of traffic because people are like, okay, cool, that's awesome. Draft is on. All right, so let's see who the Anaheim Ducks are going to draft. I guess I need to look up this Demidov guy real quick. Yeah, he's good, bro. Excellent skater. Uses his size really well. Yeah, he's a good player. Matthew Powell also says this is a good point. I think Guentzel is done except for some fine print. Yeah, I think they're probably finalizing trade language or, the signing bonuses versus base salary type of stuff. It's probably something like that. If they're actively trying this hard to trade Necas on the floor to get high picks, Guentzel must be done. It's just there's no point in announcing it right now because nobody would really notice it. Let's see if we got anything else on this one. All righty. Let's see. Frank the Tank says, how y'all feel about the Mighty Ducks unis coming back? I think that's pretty cool. I only have one complaint, and this is about their home ones. I think they should have stuck with the black pants for at home because that orange is just a lot. It's not like with our 25th anniversary one. You have the black stripe and the warning flags and the silver and the white at the bottom to kind of break it up from being just completely red with having the red pants. I think if there was a little bit more going on down there, it would be cool and everything like that. I love the main logo, and the away one is pretty cool. I think that they should switch to the orange helmets for the away ones like we do the red ones with our away ones. But the home one, I think they should switch back to the black pants. I mean, I think that's part of the reason I like the Hurricanes reverse retro from last year so much, because I have one of those, is because I feel like it's a perfect combination of a base color and having two secondary colors, simple schemes. I like simple schemes a lot. Like the sweater I designed for my beer league team I used to play for is super simple. I'll actually show that off here in a little bit. Let's see. Dylan Bollinger says, I think I seen something a while back about wanting Allmark Cucci #1 goalie next year. Yeah, the Allmark rumblings kind of made sense, but at the same time, I've said this before. If Kochekov is the starter, or if he has the potential to be the starter, now's the time to find that out before July 1st of next season, when he will be entering the final year of his contract, and we would have to either extend him or trade him. We need to figure out what he's completely capable of now, because if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? Like, we need to know if he is that guy, so that way we have a window to go get another goalie early in the season. I think he's ready. And if he's not, now's the time to let him fail. But I don't think Kochekov is going to fail. I think he's ready. I really do. That being said, I don't know nearly as much about goalies as like AB and Sam Driscoll, because they both played goalie. Sam plays floorball goalie, and Sam Driscoll played goalie growing up. I've never played goalie really. Like, I had pads at one point, and I was going overseas, so I sold them. I was going to buy new goalie gear when I got back, and I just never did. So I would say, like, now's the time to let Kochekov, let him have the 1A spot and see what he does. And then you don't have to worry about going out and getting another goalie, because Freddie's still good enough to be the backup. But I would much rather know what we're getting with Kochekov right now. But I think it's time to let that happen. I know that Askarov is apparently on the market since Nashville extended Saros, but even then, it's like you can create competition between Askarov and Saros, and maybe that pans out really well for the Canes. I'm personally ready to give Kochekov the keys and let him drive. I used to watch a Ducks fan say, she said, I want to say the Ducks will make the playoffs in the next 2 years. Girl, what? With this team, no way in hell. I don't care if they're in the Western Conference. That's not yet. Give it about 3 or 4, depending on if Trevor Zegras learns to be, more than a trick shot artist, because the kid's good, but he's kind of one-dimensional, and he hasn't really proved anything. Let's see. Anaheim just picked Beckett Sinek, who was playing for, I want to say it was Oshawa. Yep. Okay. He was playing for Oshawa in the CHL. All right, cool. So that's another one off the board. So Demidov's not been picked yet, Matthew. Frank the Tank says, I had that starter jacket as a kid. Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. I liked them, and while anything is better than what they have been using, I still wish we just kept and used our 20th anniversary uniforms. My favorite. Yeah, I do love that one, and I'm hoping that they'll eventually bring it back full time. So here's the weird thing about it. The original iteration of those, back when it was starter, Coho, CCM, way before the Reebok or the Adidas era, I didn't like those. What Adidas did with the 25th anniversary one, they emboldened the font a little bit, made it a little bit bigger. They made the logo on the front smaller, and it was centered better. So it being tighter around the collar and everything like that, it didn't look like the Hurricane was kind of floating on top of the sweater. It was flush with it and laying flat on the wearer's chest. And I thought that made that sweater look really good, because I remember when I was at the home opener a couple of years when they wore them, I'm like, I'm going to get me one of those eventually, because they look really good. Like, one day I'm going to do a comparison between that one and its original predecessor, like when Starter and Coho was making them. That one, even though it's got like the same designs and stuff on it, it still looks completely different at the same time. The warning flags on it are like a lot more like emboldened on it and everything. They look like they're almost like 3-dimensionally raised on the bottom of the sweater. They did really, really good with that. All right, so let's see. If we still have the Jag line, we are going to be a threat no matter what, IMO. Yeah, the Jag, everything would start with the Jag line, and then not to mention, imagine this, if we go out and get Nikolai Ehlers in trade and get Elias Lindholm in free agency, your second line could be Nikolai Ehlers, Elias Lindholm, and Andrei Svechnikov. They will hurt people with how much hitting they will be doing, because Lindholm finally found that real physical gear to his game in Calgary. We knew that he was capable of, and we traded him before he had a chance to play under Rod as a head coach. I want to see what Lindholm would do a second time around, because then at that point, Seth Jarvis finished 8th in Selke voting. Jordan Stahl was a finalist. Aho finished 11th, and he's gotten more and more Selke votes almost every season now. You bring Lindholm, Ehlers, and maybe Duclair in and add Martinook in, bro, it's like pretty much the entire Selke vote is going to be all Hurricanes and Sasha Barkov. That's going to be it. Beckett Sinek. That is a huge reach for Anaheim. All right. Okay, let's sweeten the pot and get that 4th pick. Yeah, they're going to have to do it now. Hey, Don. It's so weird seeing him not at our table, man. I'd gotten so used to that. Dylan says, I haven't checked. Did they ever settle on a name for the Utah team? I think Blizzard was the best choice personally. No, they did not settle on a team, and right now they're just Utah Hockey Team or Utah Hockey Club. Here's one thing I will say about it, though. I love the colors they picked. So as long as they pick the right logo and the right name to go with it, it's gonna be a home run, in my opinion. I love that scheme, the black and the light blue and the white. Like, good. They did a good job picking the colors. I really think they did a great job there. They've got a lot good to build on with their marketing and their theming and everything like that there. So let's see. The Columbus Blue Jackets are on the clock. This is the one I'm interested to see. The other team I'm going to keep an eye on when we get later in the draft is Winnipeg. Jack Weldy, what's up, buddy? I saw via Hurricanes report that a trade with CBJ was rejected that included Necas. Yes, that is. I've been seeing that as well. Yeah, that's what it appears to have happened. So, like I said, the one good sign of that, and I didn't think about it until I saw someone say it in one of the group chats I'm in on X, that must mean that they're good on Guentzel, that they have him signed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be actively trying to trade Necas on the floor. Dylan says, oh, no, I haven't seen the colors. I still like the name and colors for the Kraken. They did a good job there. I only have one complaint about the Kraken letter, or I'm sorry, the Kraken sweater. I don't like their main logo. The template and the colors are amazing. The secondary logo with the little anchor, amazing. I feel like their main logo is kind of unimaginative. I have a reason for that. I'll get to that in a little bit if you're still here. Because my beer league team that I used to be on, it was called the Kraken, and I feel like our sweaters were a little bit more creative than theirs. And then when I took over that team, I decided this was before they named the Kraken. I decided I didn't want the name to be in common with an NHL team, so I decided to make my own sweaters, and I designed it myself, and someone put the finishing touches on it for me. But I decided I wanted it to be like mine since it was my team. And me being an airplane nerd, I named them the Tomcats, and it's got an F-14 on it. I'll show all that stuff off here later in the stream and everything like that if y'all are still here. All right, so Columbus has a pick coming up here. My favorite color is teal, so Kraken colors for me are awesome. Yeah, no, I love the colors. It's just the main logo. I just feel like that's just me. I just didn't like the main logo. I wish they'd come up with something a little bit more imaginative. Okay, the pick is in for Columbus. Let's see what we got here. It is so weird seeing him not with us. Jack, you might end up being right. Caden Lidstrom. Demidov sliding. Matthew, you might get your wish. Because I thought he would have went by now. He's one of the few prospects I've actually watched a whole lot. The way the draft should work is if the clock runs out before you pick, you lose it. Yeah, I think that's fair. Bro, imagine Don takes Demidov right now. Well, luckily he didn't. I'm just going to let him. Maybe he'll slide all the way to 27th. That would be some shit, though. It really would. Hot take, I don't like the Kraken colors. Looks too much like an NHL 24 creative team. Wait until you see my Tomcat sweater. That looks like some NHL 24 creative team shit. Oh, did you see where PNC and area will have an upgrade? I'm excited for that, and I believe we deserve and need it. Yes, I'm super excited about that. So since we got a couple of minutes here, since Columbus just did their pick and nothing relevant happened to Carolina as we were potentially hoping for. So when it comes to that entertainment area, so like I said, y'all know I live up by DC and everything. I only go to DC when the Hurricanes are here or when the Braves are here. That's about the only two times I go there. The one cool thing about that is there is a bunch of cool shit to do within walking distance. Last time we were there, we went to Taffer's Tavern and we had to sneak around the bar, and we found some other Hurricanes fans who were like, hey, can we like just kind of slip in here with you guys? And then we drank a little bit, then we went to the game and everything. I would love to see a bunch of different options around PNC that are within walking distance, because it's pretty much just backyard bistro. Like, that's it. So that's about all we got here. So Caden Lindstrom is off the board. And yeah, I'm going to cover the PNC arena upgrades at some point or another. It's just there's been so much news lately. Matthew Powell says now we should trade for Montreal's fifth. I mean, now's the time to do it because they're up next. As much as we've tampered with them, not going to lie, Matthew, and we should, Matthew. Yeah, we should. I mean, it's different now though. It's like Bergevin's not there anymore, and Tulski's our GM now as opposed to Waddell. I think that they can be at least on decent terms to make trades and everything. Because even after the offer sheet, we made a trade with him. I mean, it was just Joel Edmondson for a late round pick for his rights when he was a pending UFA. So I mean, like, I'm pretty sure that all that the offer sheet stuff is water under the bridge at this point. You should see how many Patrick Waugh cards I have. Yeah, you sound like you're a goalie guy. That's pretty cool. I actually don't have like any goalie memorabilia at all. Corporate accounts payable. Nina speaking. Tell that man to cut that yee ass hair. I love that game. That was one of the funniest moments I ever seen in my life. Maybe Tanisha will call you a dog ass. She stopped fucking with that lawyer, that brain surgeon. What? Oh, the Canadians are up. Yep, let's see what we got here. All right, the Habs are up, and it looks like they haven't traded their pick because it would have happened by now. I am a goalie guy. I'll take that as a compliment. Yeah, it wasn't like a slide or anything. First on Lindstrom, his helmet has to fit funny. Yeah, I'd imagine. Bro, Jesse Puljujärvi though, I don't think they manufacture helmets big enough for that dude's head. Like it like look, it was just swimming on top of his head. Let's see what we got going on here. But yeah, no, the reason I say you're a goalie guy is like I have friends that are goalies and everything, and it seems like that like they like collect different memorabilia and different merchandise and stuff like that based on it. It's like, you know, like my friend Brett, he's a really big Nashville Predators fan, but he has like t-shirts of like other goalies, like random ones like Jonas Hiller and you know, Darcy Kempfer and numerous other ones. Puljujärvi has an 8 head. 8's not enough, dude. You gotta, those are rookie numbers. You gotta pump them numbers up. I like Jesse Puljujärvi. I hate that he's had such a hard time with his career, but nah, bro is a bobblehead in real life. He really is. Dylan Bollinger, they just mentioned Demidov. That is still an option. They must think he goes soon. Yeah, that's why if Carolina's going to get Demidov, they need to trade like for a high pick. He's going to go in the top 10. I'm surprised he hasn't went yet. Goalies are the weirdest dudes on the team. The weirdest athletes I've ever met in my life. Hockey goalies, baseball pitchers, and catchers. They are the most calculated, weird courts people I've ever met in my life, and I have numerous superstitions of my own. But goalies are typically weird, and a lot of times they're really quiet. There was some of the ones that I met that played for the Fayetteville Fire Ants had some of the weirdest courts you could imagine. Just strangest, like not bad, but definitely stuff you look at and go, why the fuck? Okay. Alrighty, let's see what Montreal does here. Absolutely. Hey, Marty St. Louis. Has he got lifts in his shoes? I don't remember him being that tall. Must be the way the camera's angled. Trivia question: who's the only guy in the league that was shorter than Nathan Gerby? Damn it! I fucked up my own thing. Never mind. I'll try to come up with a different gotcha later. Let's see what gets announced here. Yeah, I like Marty St. Louis too. I've never heard anybody say they don't like Marty St. Louis. If you don't like Marty St. Louis, you ain't got a soul. Huh. Was not expecting that. So does that mean that they don't want Necas? Sometimes I wonder if teams do shit like this just to buy themselves more time. Like they're like, if we slow the draft down a little bit now, we can think more about what we want to do tomorrow or something. I don't know. Judging by the things I'm seeing in the chat, I guess my feed's a little bit behind and they drafted Demidov. All right, so Demidov's off the board. Damn. I wonder if Utah would want him. It's the most fresh start Natchez could get. Him and Clayton Keller playing together, that could be that could be lethal. I would do that. BTS says, I have a big hockey card collection. I have a Canes Night pamphlets from all places, Hardy's, one from 2019, 2020, and one from 2006. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Lame. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, man. It's just that's one of the things that annoys me about some of these insiders, not ones like Elliot Friedman, obviously, but it's like they're constantly kicking the tires and saying that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Chat's picked up on this, Chatter's picked up on that. Oh, there's a whole bunch of smoke around this. Expect someone to be traded at this time, yada yada yada. And then there were so many accounts saying that Necas was going to be traded by now. We're 5 picks in, and Necas is still Hurricanes property. So I don't even know what to think anymore. That's one of the things that, like, Saravelli, he said, like, let me make it abundantly clear. I'm not the biggest fan of Daily Faceoff. I used to reference their stuff, but I'm not the biggest fan of Frank Saravelli, and I don't like a lot of the other guys who work over there. That one dude who used to work for the Coyotes, I can't remember his name, or used to cover the Coyotes. I can't remember him. Fuck him. I can't remember his name, but he's a douchebag. I'm kind of like, they said that Necas was going to get traded before game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and it's round 5 of the draft and he's still with the Hurricanes. So, like, that's why it's like I don't put a ton of stock in that. But, Occam's razor here does say that if they're actively trying to trade him, Guentzel has gotten signed. They just haven't announced it yet. Because if they announce that Guentzel got signed, then the people on the floor will be like, well, now you need us to take Necas for less because you just need to get rid of him. And that might drive Necas's asking price down that Carolina could try and get for him. So I would say that it's good that they're not announcing that Guentzel is done. I need to put that in my group chat here in a little bit because my buddies are talking about stuff like that right now. So now who can we get that'll be worth it? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about this draft class. It was a long shot anyhow. Yeah, it was. The Canes need to do something big tonight, in my opinion. Yeah, dude, I'll be happy with a Guentzel contract. If we end up just trading Necas later, or hell, even holding on to him and bridging him until free agency, I'd rather do that than lose him for nothing now, or lose him for a small payback right now. Berkeley, Canton, and Tidgegan are their best forwards now. Yeah, that's the thing. This draft is stacked with defensemen that I do know. Tom Dundon said he would never draft a defenseman in the first round, so long as he owned the Hurricanes. He might have to change that standard tonight, but so far he has held true to that. So we'll see. There's a lot of highly ranked defensemen I hope people take. Yeah, that's one thing that I do know about this draft. It's really stacked with defensemen. So we'll see. Now, I will tell you guys this. There was one thing I had written down that I'll talk to you all about real quick while I'm thinking about it. So when I was initially planning on doing profiling some of the guys we could potentially draft at 27th overall, I went through 6 mock drafts. I excluded 2 of them because they included defensemen, and I really don't think the Hurricanes are going to draft a defenseman. But it's getting to the point where they might have to if they don't trade up to get one and everything, or trade up for a higher pick. So Tankathon said, "All right, now hold up. No, what am I looking for? Let me find some of these guys here just to make sure that I've got this list right, because I just kind of wrote this down in a hurry during my day job while I was on break." All right, so one of the guys that we got here, and he was actually profiled a little bit when I was watching The Point right before the draft started. Yes, I agree. I'll accept the cookies. Come on. Hold up. I'm having a little bit of difficulty here with this damn browser. I don't know why it's causing me problems. Boy, everything is just messing up tonight. Let's see what we got. I guess that there's going to be some sort of Utah sweater for the draft here, I would imagine. Dylan says, if you were a fan of Street Outlaws, rip Lizzie Musey, 33, same age as me. Yeah, I'm actually 33 as well. Yeah, that's sad. Did they reveal Utah sweaters yet? Let's see. Like, maybe he's got one in his hand here. I would hope so for drafting somebody. Utah is up. If it's what I saw, kind of bland. Yeah, it's going to be bland for the first year because they didn't name the team yet, but I do like the colors they picked. So, oh, Gary Bettman is so short compared to everybody up there right now. It's hilarious. What a sad little man. Something tells me that this is going to be like a plain black sweater that says Utah on it that they're going to give this kid that they draft. Why is Gary shaking? Because he's a demon. They always shake. Bingo. Everyone knows it, but nobody talks about it. Like Tar Heel colors looks like. Yeah, I think that's why I like them so much is their heels colors. Utah drafted Tij Aginla, and that's cool to see his dad there. That's really cool because his dad, as you know, amazing player himself. That's pretty awesome, man, seeing him make it. It was the right pick. For them, absolutely. Berkeley Catton will probably go next, like you said. Elite Prospects is not acting right now. I guess that maybe it's people are probably overloading that website right now. This is the one night where it's not going to work well. So at 27th, I had 4 possibilities. Igor Sorin, who is a center, he's 6'2", left-handed shot. Bleacher Report, Sasha Boisverd, I believe that Boisver, I guess that's how it's pronounced. He's American, actually. He was also a big boy. I think he was 6'4". He was a center as well. Jet Luchanko, Luchenko, something like that. Like I said, I don't know a ton about this draft class. I really don't. But all these guys were forwards. That's why I think that Carolina will draft one of them. Ottawa is up. Let's see what we got here. We're running out of teams to potentially trade for a top 10 pick. At the rate this is going, Martin Necas is still going to be a hurricane in the morning. Which, honestly, that's a bad sign for Guentzel, maybe. And I know which one I'd rather keep right now. Definitely Guentzel. All right, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I'll see you on Monday night, hopefully, if I can still get that stream going. Let's see what we get here. I mean, I don't see us making a trade with Seattle. Maybe Calgary, because it seems like they're in rebuild mode since they traded Mangiapane yesterday. So we'll see what happens here with this one, too. Did Nikita Artemonov go yet? Let's get another Russian. I just looked up predictions, and that's who they have for us. He's a forward, right? I mean, that name's familiar. Let me look it up. See what we got here. Artemonov had 7 goals and 23 points while averaging 14 minutes and 54 KHL games for Torpedo last year. 5'11" winger, has a good skill set. Scouts are high on his offensive intelligence and hockey skills. Artemonov might be the smartest Russian in this draft, and that's saying something. One scout told the Hockey News, this guy's sense is really good, and he has really good compete. Skating issues and uninspiring pre-draft interviews dropped Tyler Toffoli to the middle of the 26. Okay, no, that's something completely different there in regards to making a comparison there. Artemonov has good hands, able to move pucks quickly in and tight with a quick release to boot. But what makes this 18-year-old even more appealing for the Carolina Hurricanes is his forechecking ability. And that comes from, I'm pretty sure Ryan Hinkle wrote this. Yes, Ryan Hinkle is a very, very dedicated person to covering the Hurricanes with Hockey News. He does a great job. Let me look up more about this guy. All right, I'm going to try and pull up Elite Prospects again and see if it'll work. Elite Prospects is not working tonight. It must be overloaded or something. All right, let me see what the Hockey Writers has to say about it. Eugene Helfrich, I don't know who he is. So he ranks 19th among EU skaters from NHL Central Scouting. Future Considerations has him at 50th. Peter Baracchini ranks him at 24th. Logan Horn ranks him at 30th. Andrew Forbes ranks him at 30th. Smart Scouting ranks him at 10th. Bob McKenzie has him ranked at 34th. Dauber Prospects at 21st. Recruit Scouting at 19th. So let's see what else we got about this guy here. Sure, he may not have elite playmaking abilities, but his skill set allows him to be a threat in the offensive zone and defensive zones, while his acute hockey IQ keeps him in the right place to make plays at all times. Also, while he is an average size 5'11", he understands how to use his strength to win puck battles in the corners or to chip in to help a teammate out when they make a mistake. So, I mean, that sounds like he would fit the system a little bit right there already. It sounds like that he's got a little bit of a defensive responsibility there if he's good at providing puck support to guys like when they're in like board battles and everything like that. Surin, Chernikov. Yeah, I remember reading a little bit about Chernikov. I'm actually like on what I'm seeing with Artemonov here because like as I'm scrolling through stuff about him, I'm watching clips of him real quick. Yeah, some people have him like rated at 10th overall, and then others have him like right outside of the first round. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with him. All right. Let's see. Who did Ottawa draft? And pull up the TSN tracker here. All right, Seattle's up next. All right, boys. Unless we trade with New Jersey, I'm pretty sure nothing is happening for a while yet in regards to Nate, just because I can't think of anybody in rounds 11 through 20 that would trade for Nate just right now. I really don't. So I just decided to look it up since I don't know anything about the prospects and seeing his name attached to us. Yeah, if you got that from Ryan Henkel's article, that's a good find because Ryan Henkel does really, really good work. All right, they're on a commercial break, so I think I'm going to take a little bit of a commercial break myself. I will be back in a couple of minutes. All right, boys, I'm back. The reason that Rob Brendamore's not in the Hall of Fame is on the stage right now. So I guess, all right, their picks in, so we're not trading with them. I didn't expect to make a trade with Seattle anyway. Because I just don't think that these organizations are on good terms primarily because of Francis. I really don't. Are they going to have Matty Berniers announce the pick? Oh, also, Dylan, Flow Hockey. I love that website. That's how I watch the Fayetteville Marksman games, and there's ECHLs on there, all kinds of other stuff. So if you want to take in hockey in a different, in a different way, there's all kinds of other leagues on there. It's really cool. I feel pretty good with Eric being our GM going forward. I do too. He's been around the organization for a long time. It was time for him to take the reins. It really was. He's been part of the brain trust for so long. And, I understand we haven't got to the ultimate goal yet, but this team has been successful over the last few years. Is it what we want? No, but it's better off than where we were by far. We've exceeded expectations one year. I don't really count 2020, and I kind of don't count 2021. 2022, yeah, late second round exit, disappointing. And we got to the conference finals with a team that was beat up. This year, it's just the wheels fell off at the wrong time. The penalty kill went cold when it was needed to be its best. So I don't really count all that. So let's see. Berkeley Catton is now off the board. He has been drafted by the Seattle Kraken. So I figured that would be. Oh, wait. Let me hit that right there. Alrighty, let's see. I bought ESPN Plus just to see the games Valley doesn't air. Yeah, I need it anyway just because I'm out of market. I would do my best not to give ESPN money if I could, but unfortunately they own the broadcasting or the majority of the broadcasting rights for I think 3 more seasons or whatever it is. It's like my reoccurring belief is that ESPN got the rights to broadcast hockey so that they could eliminate competition from their bigger cash cows and that of like primarily the NBA. So that's the only reason I think that they really got it. They had no intention of broadcasting hockey well. That's why when Sasha Barkov picked up the cup, the camera couldn't even stay on him. ESPN's a joke. It always has been. The last time ESPN was good was when I was a kid, and it was Gary Thorne, Bill Clement, Barry Melrose, before his health caught up with him later in life, unfortunately. That's when watching ESPN hockey was amazing. And, the first year of like NHL and Fox, I was really young when that happened. And I remember it. The only thing that was really, really bad about that was like the whole little like laser light thing they had on the puck. Nowadays, you don't need that though, because you got, HD TV and everything's high definition now. So you can see the puck pretty well nowadays. On the old TV, it's kind of hard. All right. So Calgary's up. My kid got a puck against Calgary this year. Oh, that's cool. Gonna make some soup, so won't be in front of the TV. Let me know who the Flames pick. Sure thing, buddy. Kind of like Calgary. Yeah, no, Calgary's one of those other franchises that I do watch a lot when I'm not watching the Canes. I like them. I started watching them a lot after Lindholm and Derek Ryan and those guys went there back when we traded Lindholm and Hanifin there. The only guy who played for Calgary that I really didn't like in the last few years, I'll say 3 that have been in the last 15 years. Lance Boma, I couldn't stand his ass. He's one of those dudes that like you don't like him unless he plays for you. Noah Hanifin, my most hated Hurricane ever, other than maybe Alexander Semin. I fucking hate Noah Hanifin. If you haven't heard, I fucking hate Noah Hanifin. And if I had to pick another one, it's kind of a begrudging type of dislike, but I also kind of like him at the same time. Michael Backlund, I don't know what it is about him. I just can't fucking stand him. Like, I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't fucking like him. I like Dallas, and we never play them, so it's okay. Dallas has a lot of my favorite non-Hurricanes, primarily Jason Robertson, Miro Heiskanen, Essa Lindell, and Rope Hintz. So Dallas has a lot of my favorite non-Hurricanes. Once we were out, that's who I wanted to win the cup. All right, Calgary has minute 10. I know one thing, though. If we lose Guentzel and Necas, we are in deep shit. My favorite non-Hurricane will always probably be Barkov. I love Sasha Barkov. I am really, really excited to watch him and Aho be a 1-2 punch for Team Finland. Because I'm telling you guys right now, if Team USA doesn't pick up Jacob Slavin, I'm not cheering for them. I've already made that abundantly clear. If Bill Guerin does not put Jacob Slavin on that team, I have no reason to cheer for it. And I was planning on buying 2 sweaters for Team USA, Jacob Slavin and Jason Robertson. That's another one of my favorite non-Hurricanes. I forgot to mention him a second ago. Especially if Robertson wears 21, that would be the 2 sweaters I would want to pick up. But if Bill Guerin doesn't take Slavin on that team, I don't think I can cheer for it. I really just don't think I could. I mean, Frank is like, he wouldn't cheer for it either. Look at him. He's like, nope. As far as other Florida Panthers go, Steven Lawrence, obviously former Hurricane. Everybody likes him. I've never heard anybody say they don't like Steven Lawrence. If you don't like Steven Lawrence, you don't have a soul. So let's see. Calgary's about to make their pick. I hate this guy, but at the same time, I would love him if he played for the Hurricanes. Ryan Lomberg, I fucking hate playing against him or seeing the Hurricanes play against him. He's someone that would fit really fucking well on this team, though. He really would. Oh, yes, I would love to see Jason Robertson in a Canes uniform one day. All right, so Zane Perrick has now went to the Calgary Flames. So I think that we're going to start seeing all the defensemen come off the board over the next few rounds because there's so many defensemen that are projected to go in this first round. Jason Robertson, if you like him, I see a lot of, I won't even say a lot, but a decent amount of things that Jason Robertson does, I see in Bradley Nadeau's game. So if you like Jason Robertson, you might find that in Nadeau. The last home regular season home game I went to was the Canes and the Stars in January. I want to say it was the last one I went to. And like Jason Robertson is really good at finding open ice and getting behind the defense. He even managed to get behind Slavin a couple of times without Slavin noticing, and that's incredibly hard to do to Jacob Slavin. But Jason Robertson would be like, could you imagine him, Aho, and Jake Guentzel all on the same line? Or any combination of those two and Jarvis? Like, wow. "96 points as a defenseman, even the OHL, is nothing to sneeze at." Let Nikishin wear 10. There's only one reason I'm against that. There is only one reason I'm against that, and it's completely selfish. I wear 21, and I want Nikishin to wear 21 again. Because the only numbers I've ever seen him wear are 10, 21, and 57, and I hope he wears 21. That's just for my own selfish reasons, because I will get that sweater in a heartbeat. And I'm reluctant to buy anything Fanatics. Perrick before, I'm actually not sure how that's pronounced. Please forgive me if I butcher it. Biome is a choice. Yeah, like I said, I don't know a ton about this prospect pool, but like Perrick is one of the names that I've heard a lot. But yes, for my own selfish reasons, I want Alexander Nikishin to wear 21 when he gets here. There's only one way I would be okay with that not happening, and that's if Nino Niederreiter came back. That'd be it. All right, so up next are the New Jersey Devils, and then the 11th overall pick that Buffalo traded to San Jose. The next time I see us potentially like having a trade with anybody when I'm looking at the board here, Philly, I think we could maybe see a potential Necas trade there. Minnesota, no. Buffalo, no. Detroit, I could see them trying to get Necas because that would kind of like, okay, I'll tell you what. You asked me earlier which team I think was going to improve the most. Detroit. I think Detroit will improve the most. I think they have a really, really good core. They're building around guys like Mo Sider and Lucas Raymond. If they add Necas to that team could take the next step and start making the playoffs. They damn near made it last season. So I think that they're going to take that next step. Last sweater I bought was Nino, and then away he went. Yeah, I never got my hands on a Nino one. If he came back this time and wore the same number, I would get it immediately. Honestly, if Zeev Booyam, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, does slide down to the Canes, he's the one defenseman I'd take in the first round. Yeah, like I'm not totally with Dundon's idea of never taking defensemen in the first round. I understand the logic of not wanting to or wanting to rarely take a defenseman in the first round because they do take longer to develop on average. I'm not agreeing with Rutherford's philosophy on him. That's why Erik Karlsson was not drafted to be a Hurricane. That's how we ended up with, this name is still painful to say, Zach freaking Boychuk. So who will we get back from Detroit if we're giving them Necas? So at minimum, the pick. There would have to be something else included, though, because the further and further we get down the list, the more and more the Hurricanes are going to want probably a roster player or an additional future or a prospect or something like that involved. Detroit is just one of those teams that I'm not necessarily saying I know what the exact return would be. I could see Necas and their first rounder being a starting point for working out some sort of trade, because Necas could be the player that pushes them and gets them over the hump and makes them a playoff team again. So I'd have to look at Detroit's roster and tell you what potentially could be coming back that way. All right, so New Jersey's up now. We'll look at this in a second. We'll see what we got going on here. Matthew Powell says, I'm mostly on board with not taking defensemen in the first round, and we've had a horrible track record there, but BM is already impressed at the NCAA level. Yeah, see, like I'm not totally against it either. I understand the rationale behind it, but it's like there's also like weird cases, like let's just say in some alternate reality, the Buffalo Sabres decided to draft Andrei Svechnikov or Jesperi Kotkaniemi, then we'd have to take Rasmus Dahlin at number 2. So like we would be stupid not to at that point. And I don't blame all of his career shortcomings on him. Buffalo is not a well-run organization. And I don't blame Kevin Adams for that either. He inherited an absolute dumpster fire. Now, granted, I'm glad that Buffalo sucks because I don't like their fans, so fuck them. But, you know, it's not entirely their fault. All right, let's see what New Jersey does here. Watch everyone just make their picks this round with no trades, just like last year. That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier with the whole thing about, let's see, who'd they draft? Anton Siliev. Okay. Another defenseman. All righty. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of getting bored with the whole insiders saying this and saying that, because it's getting to where it's 95% smoke and 5% fire nowadays. It's like they're just doing every little thing for clicks. They're doing every little thing for ad revenue and attention. I'm wondering how much I'm going to listen to any of these guys, even LeBron next year. Yeah, damn, that's a big kid. Holy shit. Yeah, you're not kidding, Matthew. Wow. What are they feeding these damn kids nowadays? Fuck. He like towers over everyone up there. He's like twice Gary Bettman's height. You know, I mean, I figured New Jersey was planning on drafting a defenseman if they did hold on to that pick. That's part of the reason why they were okay with trading Kevin Ball. And, you know, in my opinion, Kevin Ball's pretty underrated. Like Kevin Ball, Mario Ferraro, guys like that, Joel Edmondson, so on and so forth. They're bigger pieces to a team than a lot of people realize. It's not until they're out of the lineup and suddenly your penalty kill percentage drops 10% and you go, oh shit, they were important. So, and he's a shutdown guy too. So this is someone that I think I would like regardless of whether he was on the Hurricanes or not. See, I love that. Okay, me being a defenseman myself, quick gap control, uses his reach, forces guy in the corner, uses physicality. That's a good defenseman to me right there. No, I'm enjoying watching this. And I'm glad that they're showing defensive highlights because not everything is about offense. It's just really not. Good gap control. Just enough body contact to separate the guy from the puck. Didn't try and kill him. Just tried to get him off the puck. That's good. I like that. Siliev is someone I think I'm going to start doing a whole bunch of research on, because that little bit of video I just saw on him, I like that. Really good gap control. Really good defensive stick. If the last few years drafting great players, so ain't too worried. And big reason for that, I believe, is because of Eric. So I have faith we get someone good. I really love our prospect pool. I've got another comment on here I have to reply to on the stream I did the other night. It was not in the chat, but it was a comment. Our prospect pool is really, really good. And like I was talking about with Sam Wallace on the Caniac report yesterday, even if we aren't that good next year, even if we're like an early second round exit or anything like that, the team's still going to be fun to watch next year, even just because we have all these kids. It's not that are really exciting and that are really coming up. It's not like the dark ages where people stop going to games because they're kind of like, well, the team's never going to get any better and it's going to get sold and relocated anyway. That was the mindset of everybody. It looked like it had no direction whatsoever. Whereas now we're like, okay, we might take a step back, but in a couple of years, Bradley Nadeau, Jackson Blake, guys like that are going to be a difference maker. And don't sleep on this team making a cup run next year and Bradley Nadeau being like a second coming of Jake Guentzel. Because just remember, him as a rookie for the Penguins, he had an immense impact on that series. Had it not been for Sidney Crosby and being there, Jake Guentzel put on a Conn Smythe-worthy performance when he won his cup. So just to keep that in mind, kids like that, especially if they make the team out of camp or if they get called up relatively early and stay there, they can make a huge difference going forward, especially someone who has the offensive abilities of Bradley Nadeau. Matthew Powell says, really good skater. Silly has problem in hockey since occasionally he makes really dumb decisions. Yeah, and that's bad as a defenseman because of defensive zone puck management and everything like that. That's one of the reasons I love Slavin so much, because he never makes bad decisions. Like he never, almost never. I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen Jacob Slavin make a decision and go, what was he thinking? So, it's like that just comes down to like learning, gaining experience, and building your hockey IQ. Our prospect pool is good for our draft position. York is so good at finding later round value. Yes, he is. Darren York is a big part of this team's success, especially with finding the players we found in the later rounds in the last few years. Dylan Bollinger, the future looks bright for sure. I'm the most excited I've ever been in a Kane guy since 2002. Yeah, I'm really excited about it too. Nadeau could very well be good this year. I think he could too, because like he's got a little bit of work to do on the defensive side of the game, but at the same time though, we've got so many forwards that are defensively competent. I'm okay with having somebody who maybe lacks a little bit there, but the kid's got a cannon of a shot. Like it's insane. I was watching him play when he was at Maine, and then the little bit I saw him in the NHL, I'm like, yo, I got to see what this kid's shot velocity is once the data updates on NHL Edge. I haven't looked at it yet, but he's like Max Pacioretty caliber good when you're talking about his ability to shoot the puck. All right, San Jose is back up on the stage. Yeah, my stream must be behind, Dylan. Sam Dickinson, another defenseman. Yeah, it's going to be defenseman for a while yet. Matthew Powell says Nadeau was ranked the second best shot after Bedard last year. Fuck, I'll take that. The second best shot to Connor Bedard is good to go. That's good stuff. Whoops, spoiler, haha, my bad. I won't do that again. Nah, dude, it's all good. I don't mind. It's just sometimes it's like if you're watching it on cable or if your stream's ahead of mine for whatever reason, it just might be that. But that's okay. I'm not really worried about anything until something involving Carolina comes. At the rate it's going, it looks like the first thing I'm really going to have to say about Carolina that's new and relevant is who we picked 27th overall. I like seeing all these defensemen go. Yeah. And I think defense is really, really underappreciated in this day and age. Good defense, regardless of whether it's from a forward or it's from a defenseman itself, i.e., how underrated Jacob Slavin is. And what really annoys me, now that it looks like Brett Pesce's going to go to New Jersey or something, suddenly everybody wants to acknowledge his existence. But outside of Carolina, he never received any recognition. It's all that idiotic market bias. Matthew Brown says, please, for the love of God, announce Guentzel's extension already. Eric Tulsky. I think it's coming. I really do. Like I said, I'm not like an insider or anything, but the fact that they're trying actively to trade Necas on the floor, that they threw him at Columbus to try and get that 4th overall pick, I don't think that they would be actively trying to do that right this second if the deal with Guentzel was not done. There's just no point in announcing it right now because that'll drive down Necas' value because other teams will be like, well, you need to get him off your hands so you have cap space to sign other people. You don't want to waste the time to go to arbitration. They're going to have that bargaining chip to try and lower the price that they would have to pay to get Necas. So I'm confident the Guentzel deal will get done if it's not already. Dylan says, I'm on cable. Yes, that's one of the things that I've noticed. Like, my dad will text me about something, and then 10 seconds later, I see it. It's just the way it is. But yeah, you can say whatever you want in the chat, bud. Don't worry about it. You're not really spoiling much of anything. If something comes across in regards to Guentzel or Necas are the only times that I'll ask you to hold that and, not spoil it, and then we can all talk about it together. Matthew Powell says, at Matthew Brown, they probably won't do it until after tonight, maybe even after the draft entirely. Yeah, and for the aforementioned reasons, if we ink Guentzel and it's public, teams are going to say, well, we want Necas for less because you need to get rid of him because of cap reasons. So that's the only other thing. It's like, at that point, that's the only thing. I think that if they manage to trade Necas tonight, which as everything goes on, they're running out of time to do that, then after that, Guentzel will be announced. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Necas and then 20 seconds later, oh, hey, look, Guentzel got signed 8x8. As far as most improved team, watch out for Montreal, especially with Demidov now. They will be quite good soon. Yeah, they got a lot of big kids up front, too. Like, a lot of people talk shit about Slavkovsky. Slavkovsky's a good hockey player. I know that, like, a lot of us were making fun of him for Steph Nason cleaned his clock last year and everything like that. Yeah, I think that. All right, let's see who's up next. Flyers. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. I'm very positive we keep Jake. Let's watch Martin turn the puck over and every other possession on a different team. I really think Jake is going to stay. I really, really do. Eric is too smart to let that information out there to other teams. Yes, that's the only reason I think that the Jake Guentzel extension is either being held up or not being announced yet. They're waiting to get everything they can for Necas, and then they'll say, okay, Necas out, Guentzel in, and whatever other assets we get in exchange for Necas. Now we've got that. I'll be good with that. The other cool thing is I'll be able to watch rounds 2 through 7 at work tomorrow. So I can go ahead and like start taking notes on who Carolina picks in those rounds, which will be really cool. If it's anything like last year, they drafted, I want to say they traded down, if I remember correctly, they drafted 5 forwards, a defenseman, and a goalie. BTS, what's up, buddy? I told the locker room about you. I told him he should watch your show sometimes. He said absolutely. I like him. That guy's really, really cool. He called out one of the bigger YouTubers for saying some things that he probably shouldn't have said. And I started following him after that because I knew exactly who he was talking about. I won't mention him on here. But the stuff the guy did was, let me put it this way. This particular YouTuber that he was talking about had 2 channels. I didn't watch his hockey one at first because I didn't know he had one. I watched his other one. And then he started like saying some things that I'm kind of like, bro, what are you doing? And he started making all these clickbaity titles. If I ever post a title that's clickbait, I promise you guys, if I ever post a title that's clickbait, it is an accident. There is nothing I hate more than clickbait titles. If you can't make stuff that is interesting enough on your own where you don't have to deceive people as to what the subject matter of the video is, or at least make it so vague that they have to click on it to find out, you're a piece of shit and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. If you cannot just say, hey, this is what I'm talking about, here's the subject matter, and present it in a good manner, then you don't need to be doing this shit. So if I ever post a title that seems clickbaity, I swear to God, as I live and breathe, I did not do it on purpose. I'll tell you guys that right now. Like, I hate it when people do that. That is like my fucking pet peeve. Hey, what's up, Danny Breyer? Matthew Powell says this draft, they're Celebrini and Demidov in the first tier, pick 3 through 15 in the next tier, and then it's almost wide open. Ranks 16 through 50 or about even in that talent. Yeah, and then at that point, it just becomes about drafting the best player available, hoping he develops into something or something that you can trade for assets later. Because it's like watching the last few rounds of the draft. It seems to me like the last few that I've watched after round 2, it's kind of like, okay, who's up? All right, I'll take that one. It's almost like they're drawing names out of a hat the later and later you get. But then you have guys, it seems like that, like Slavin, for example, it seems like drafting him, and that was the Francis era, mind you. It seems like drafting him and Pesci was calculated almost. It's like they didn't just take the best player available. It's like they knew who they wanted. Hell, Aho for that matter. It's like every redraft I see, he's at least in like the top 5 for that season. Alrighty, so let's see who the Flyers pick here. So this was another team I thought we could potentially trade with. Travis Konechny, I think, would be a good Hurricane. Very much a crash and bang style. He's a very skilled player, but he works in tight around the net. He's got like that perfect combination of being a grinder yet a skilled player. He's a good skater. He's got a lot of speed. He throws a lot of hits. I think Brindamore would be really like he would really like him. I really think that. If there was going to be a trade done involving Necas to Philadelphia, I think that would need to be the return, but it looks like that one's off the board here. So BTS says, I used to be kind of friends with him, but then I found your channel and just slowly stopped watching him. Not on purpose though. Yeah. And you know, it's like, that's one of the things that sucks about it is, one of the things that sucks about it, like I really like the hockey guy. I really like Twisted Wrister. There's a lot of other YouTube channels I like, but ever since I started my own and I have to like spend the time doing the stuff I'm doing, and I'm always trying to do research and everything like that to make it better and everything and provide the best content that I can for you guys and everything like that. Cause I don't want to just throw shit together. At least like at a minimum, I at least want to have a standard of like what I'm doing right now. Even if I kind of plan something at the last minute, I want it to be somewhat coordinated and somewhat good. So, you know, there's a lot of guys that just throw some random shit together, talk over it for 5 minutes, send it out. And then I don't want to be like that. So rounds 2 through 7 will go fast, but there's definite targeting. We target Felix under Storm last year. Yeah, no, that's a perfect example of it. Yeah. It's just, there's times where I look at it and I go, it seems like some people do make calculated picks. I remember, I think it was particularly 4, 5, and 6, or rounds 4 through 7 last season, because I was at work watching those. At that point, it seemed like that everyone was just kind of like, okay, what part of our depth chart do we need to fill more? Oh, we need a winger, a left or a right one, a left one. Okay, take that guy. That's what it seemed like to me. If Nate just didn't like Brendo more, imagine him with Torts. Yeah, that would be the one thing that would hold it up and everything like that. I don't think him and Tortorella would get along. You know, I'm surprised him and Tony D'Angelo actually didn't get along. I mean, they're both really big personalities, but Brindamore has a special way with reining in some of the people who have the big personalities, kind of like Tony does. Dylan says, I'm really starting to wonder if Flow Hockey was right and we get that Nikita guy. I mean, everything I'm reading about him, that, a trade maybe? Wait, let's see. What do we got here? Okay, so the Flyers traded the 12th pick to the Minnesota Wild. Okay. Oh, okay. Here's something different finally. It's just nothing for us. I really hate they're decentralizing the draft. This is one of the best parts about hockey. We got excited for something that wasn't that big of a deal. The worst trades are pick for pick trades, especially in this venue, man. This is where the big trades are supposed to happen. Trade alert, just some pick swaps. Dylan says, I never understood that trade for a right to trade a little bit sooner. The only time that I think that really makes sense is if, like, for example, like people trying to, like, if someone wanted Guentzel's rights to maybe be able to negotiate the 8th year for him, and not to mention just to have a crack at him before everyone else because of how coveted of a player he is. In those cases, I understand it. But for like some bottom 6 forward or some bottom pair defenseman, you might as well just wait until he hits the market, unless you're just desperately needing that. Matthew says, Minnesota gives a pick to move up one spot. Those kind of moves I never understand. Yeah, I don't understand that one. I really don't. I don't get that one. Basically, that's admitting you can't draft well in the later rounds. Yeah, that has a lot to do with it. And one thing I really love about what the Hurricanes are doing now since Dundon's came in, our scouting has become significantly better. Like, there was a lot of areas, particularly in Russia, that were not getting covered by us. And now we're actually like drafting people from Russia at rates that we never have before, because I think the only Russians we've ever drafted were, let's see, Svechnikov, obviously, but like we didn't need scouting to tell us that. He was the consensus 2 overall that year anyway. I think that's the only first round Russian we've ever drafted. I can't think of another one. Phil McCrevis says that was a wild trade. I see what you did there. All right, so let's see what happens here if this is in any way interesting. They must have really wanted whoever the hell they're going to draft at number 12. Why are they decentralizing the draft, man? This is so cool. Yeah, I'm gonna see like if it comes up to 27th overall, we'll see who the Hurricanes draft. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then I think we'll just end up calling it a night because they pumped this up that this was going to be a really eventful evening for the Hurricanes, and jack shit has happened. Like I'm thus far, I'm kind of fucking disappointed. I ain't gonna front with you guys. I was hoping maybe the insiders weren't just saying stuff for the sake of clicks, but right now, there goes Zeev. Matthew Powell says, by the way, speaking of Russians we've drafted, watch out for Alexander Rykov. He will be a Dynamo NHL player, and we got him at pick 100 last year. No fireworks for us isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like after all the talking that was done lately, I was hoping for something else. Now, on to Rykov. Rykov reminds me a lot of like, imagine Jordan Martinook, but with more of a scoring touch. I've actually watched Rykov a lot. I think a better comparison, he would essentially be more of a Nikolai Ehlers maybe type of player. One of those guys that, creates a lot of his offense through making high effort plays and everything, forcing turnovers, forechecking, getting in below the goal line, doing the dirty work around the net, all that type of stuff. I could definitely see Rykov being that type of player, but if he's already like that now, he can only get better, and eventually he might develop an extra skill set to his game to where he starts being a playmaker and a sniper too. Rykov is one of those guys that has a really good foundation to build the rest of his game on. So yeah, no, that's someone I've kept an eye on. Thanks to someone mentioned him in a comment on, I want to say it was the video I made about Sebastian Aho, and I started watching him a lot, and I'm like, this kid is really damn good. Like, he's got all the skating skill in the world. He's very fast. He's very physical. You can develop more parts of your game later. You can develop a playmaking touch. You can get better vision and better puck distribution and, start finding open ice in better spots and having better shot attempts and everything like that. So Alexander Rykov does have a lot to build on. No, I'm not sleeping on that kid at all. Did you watch any of the PWHL? No, unfortunately, I did not. I didn't get around to it. If I had more time, I definitely would. And I think that a PWHL team coming to Raleigh is not out of the realm of possibilities at all, especially with UNC building that new hockey arena that I think seats 2,500 or maybe it's 3,000. That'd be a good place to have a PWHL team at. I heard a scout say last year that for as far as pick value, Rykov was the best selection of last year's draft. Yeah, especially if he was 100th overall. Like, yeah. But no, I definitely do see like a great foundation for Rykov to build on. Imagine like, okay, so one thing everyone noticed about Seth Jarvis out of the gate is how the kid played his ass off, and he didn't get caught out of position really bad a whole lot. And if he did, he had the speed to get to where he needed to be. And he was an absolute menace in the offensive zone when the other team had the puck. He denied a lot of transition, prevented a lot of zone exits, and forced a lot of turnovers in the offensive zone. And he would bust his ass to get back to try and prevent transition just because he's a high effort player and he happens to have skill. Alexander Rykov could potentially be that guy who develops more skill based on the foundation he has playing with effort. Dylan Bollinger says raw talent or skill. I say go for raw talent as long as they're willing to learn. Yeah, I see that with Rykov. I see Rykov being as like kind of a diamond in the rough type of player. Like, okay, you're an excellent skater. You're fast. You're physical. You're willing to, go to the dirty areas and score greasy goals and make the hard-nosed plays. Let's develop some skill there. Let's teach you how to make some angles and everything like that so that you can distribute the puck in better situations. Normally, like, for example, if a player like Alexander Rykov gets coached by somebody, whether it's Brendan Moore, Jeff Daniels, whoever, just imagine whoever you want. When you have someone who plays with the effort and with the speed that Alexander Rykov does, and you're watching him play, and he's in a situation where he decides to just dump the puck in and go get it, but someone with a keen eye can sit there and say, hey, Alexander Rykov, instead of dumping that puck in, that's one of those times where you need to just kind of get in past the blue line and distribute it, or hit the brakes, hold up, bait the guy, wait another second, make a heads-up play, and next thing you know, you've maintained possession without having to do a temporary loss of possession to get the puck. That's the type of player that I see with Alexander Rykov. He's just got to develop those little nuanced skill aspects to his game, and he will be a really good player. Eric Heinke, I haven't seen you in a long time, bud. How are you doing? How many Russians will the Hurricanes draft this year? Good question. I think Matthew Powell is going to answer it for you. Over under at 3. York, because York gets value because he always drafts for upside. Yes, that's absolutely true when it comes to Darren York. All of them MF Russians. Yeah, let's just make an entire team of Russians, Finns, and Jacob Slavin and Jalen Chatfield. We'll have a couple of Americans on the defense and then just draft all the Russians and Finns for ourselves. But then again, Askarov might be a Hurricane before too much longer, and then we'll have 2 Russian goalies. I mean, I'm not saying that I think that's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility. I mean, Askarov right now is the goalie prospect. Like, he is it. And him and Kochekov splitting the net kind of like 50-50. I don't think that would be the worst thing. I really don't. Okay, so the Flyers got an extra 3rd-round pick out of making that trade with Minnesota. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't really understand that trade. But then again, the Flyers are in kind of a rebuild mode, and them staying 3rd in the Metro Division last year, I don't want to call it a fluke, but like, the Islanders weren't that good. The only 2 good teams in the Metropolitan Division last year was us and the Rangers. The Canes really do look like the Russian mob soon. We've got quite a legion of we do. And the real mob boss is going to be here next season and be annihilating people with the hip check on entry. I'm so looking forward to Nikishin. But yeah, no, Darren York is very good at finding late round picks, especially since he's got an owner that spends the money to scout in places that Carolina was not scouting in a few years ago. So, and then, this is not a political channel, but geopolitical things considered, one of the things with drafting Russian players, you don't need to be in a rush to develop them because sometimes it might take a while to get them over here, i.e. Alexander Nikishin. So, it's like, and we can be patient. We've got a deep enough prospect pool. We can wait on these guys to take 2-3 years over in the KHL to develop before we bring them over here. We've got an AHL affiliate now. They can go to the Chicago Wolves and play there for a little bit to further adapt to the North American game if they need to. But the other thing is, a lot of the KHL teams have gone to the North American sized ice, and a lot of them have gone to like the Finnish hybrid style ice, thanks to Liam Atkinson over at Black Stitch Hockey. I actually didn't know that. He posted that one day, and I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I thought they were still all playing on the Olympic-sized ice, so that was cool to see. And, honestly, I think the Olympics should just go ahead and go to, like, the NHL-sized ice at this point because, most of them are NHL players anyway. Like, Finland, Sweden, the United States, Canada is comprised entirely of NHL players. Russia, their team will be mostly NHL players. Czech Republic is about 70% NHL players. So it's like, at this point, they might as well just do that. But I also understand the nuance of having something different, not being exactly like the NHL and the rules being a little bit different for the international play. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I'd rather than just standardize it. I really would. That being said, people have always talked about maybe it's time to make the ice bigger in North America. I'm not entirely against that, but I just don't want to go to the double IHF sized ice. Matthew Powell says the KHL ice looks like an NHL ice to me. Are they different? Okay, so they used to be actually. So what it is with the KHL, like I said, I have to give a shout out to my boy Liam Atkinson over at Black Stitch Hockey because I didn't know this. So when I would watch European hockey before, I think I got so used to seeing them on the bigger ice surfaces, whether it was Swedish League or SM Liga or whatever it was. That hold that thought. Flyers are picking. Oh, wow. He went pretty high. Okay, so Jet Luchenko, the reason why I wondered like how high he was going to go, out of the 4 prospects I had on this little list right here that the Hurricanes could potentially draft at 27th overall, he was actually one of them. And that was by, let's see, the Hockey News actually ranked him there. That is interesting. That is significantly higher than it looked like he was going to go for because I read him in other mock drafts. It looked like that they were projecting him to go between 20 and 27. Jet Luchenko is a reach too. Yeah, I mean, well, first off, really cool name. Second off, like, yeah, I didn't know that, but Philly clearly wanted him, and they were able to just swipe a pick in the process. Yeah, they must have really, really wanted him because, like I said, I'm not super familiar with this prospect pool this year, but everything that I read had him between like 20 and 27. Like, that's insane. And by the way, guys, next time they go to a commercial break, I'm going to take a short commercial break myself, but I'll be back before the next pick is in, or before they start the next round of the draft, I should say. Let me go back to this other thing here. The KHL ice looks like NHL ice to me. Are they different? Okay, so like I was saying, I got so used to watching European hockey that I didn't really take the time to be like, oh wait, they're not on international ice anymore, are they? So what it is with the KHL, there's 23 teams, and I think that 13 of them are playing on NHL sized ice. SKA St. Petersburg, SKA St. Petersburg being one of them, and most of the other ones have went to the Finnish hybrid style ice, which is like, I believe it's 200 by 90 as opposed to 200 by 85. If the NHL increases the size of the ice, 200 by 90, I think would be a good halfway spot, because actual international sized ice, the 200 by 100, I can't stand that. It slows the game down so much. And I think the reason a lot of leagues over in Europe will never go away from it is because of how many sponsors that they plaster onto the ice surface. And it also gives you a little bit more surface area on the boards. So I think that's why the European leagues will never get away from it. But I think it would really help their on ice product if they did. Luchenko will be a good third line center, in my opinion. Yeah, we don't need any of those. That's for sure. Because, like, if we're going to draft a center, I mean, we've pretty much already missed our opportunity, I think. Some look for easy NHL projections and some look for upside. I'm definitely an upside guy, especially in the later draft rounds. Yeah, that's a good idea, because the later you get in the draft, the less likely that players are to make it. You might as well look for upside at that point. Cole Eiserman is still on the board. He has way more upside than Luchenko. Dude, World Juniors, watching him was a treat. That kid's good. Carolina can still maybe trade to get a high enough pick to get him if they really want him, but right now, I don't know. All right, boys, I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to grab myself some water. I will be right back. All right, I'm back, boys. Let's see. What is Lindy Ruff announcing here? So no trade with Buffalo. I expected that though, that they wouldn't trade it since they already traded the 11th overall that they had. Consta Hellenius, that's a cool fucking name. Yeah, Joe Kurt. That's the same team that Tuomo Rutu and Teuvo Teravainen played for. No, I take that back. Joe Kart was no, both of them played for Helsinki IFK. Who am I trying to think of that played for Joe Kart? I can't remember. That played for the Hurricanes. Rough coaching Buffalo again. Is this 2006? I would like for it to be 2006 this year. Something really, really good happened in 2006. I could go for that. Yeah, I mean, I guess they brought him back just because of his familiarity with the organization and everything, but everything's also completely different now from when he coached there the first time, so I don't know. I mean, as long as the Sabres lose and don't make the playoffs again, I don't give a damn how they go about it. I just want them to continue to suffer. UC Jokinen was Joe Kurt, right? I think that's who I'm thinking of. I really do. And then he went to go play in Karpat at the latter part of his career. I think he was playing for Jokert before he came over here. And I actually have a Olin Karpat t-shirt. The only reason I never wear it is because it's so fucking uncomfortable. I'm going to try and go somewhere where I can get an actual like all cotton t-shirt that's actually comfortable and get them to put that logo on it. But I have one. I just never wear it because it's just uncomfortable. I think I'm just going to cut the sleeves out of it and use it as a workout shirt. All right, so there goes the chance of drafting 14th overall, and that was another center right there that maybe we could have got. All right, Detroit's up next. This is another team I think could potentially trade for Necas, but I don't see it happening. Actually, I'm going to pull up their roster real quick and see who we could potentially get back from them if it were to happen. Just for the hell of it, I'm going to look. I don't see anybody on here that they would be willing to give up that would benefit Carolina. I mean, the one guy I want from that team, they're not going to give up because he's part of their future, and that's Lucas Raymond. Yeah, I don't see anybody on this roster or like roster players that they'd be willing to give up along with a pick to get Necas. Hellenius is another player that does several things well, but doesn't wow you with something. I like players that have special talent. You can't teach them and then coach the rest of their game. That is true. Like one of the examples I like to show of that is Teuvo Teravainen and his vision. You can't really teach vision. A player either has it or he doesn't. Then you look at ones like you have one. Oh, wait, we have an intruder. Hey, buddy.
Hello there.
How y'all doing? Is Sam there with you?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, cool.
He,
Yeah.
he might. I think he might hop on. Might. We all
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. You guys are all more than welcome. All the excitement. Hey, buddy. All the excitement we were expecting. Not much of it has happened. So I didn't get a chance to respond to anything in the group chat yet, but someone in one of the chats on X mentioned this, and it gives me some optimism. The fact that Carolina tried so hard to trade Necas to Columbus tells me that the deal with Guentzel is done. Otherwise, they wouldn't have tried that hard to get rid of him already.
Maybe. I'm more of like, I'll see it when I believe it with Guentzel.
Mhm.
And the reason why I say that, and I don't know where this source is coming from, but I have heard that Carolina is starting to get a little bit impatient because basically they offer Guentzel 8x8. That is
Which
the
is what he
official
wanted.
report. But yes, which is what he wanted. And apparently they haven't heard back from Guentzel. It's like trying to ask a girl on a date and you haven't heard back from her yet. So,
well, you know what I do, or what I did the last time I was in that situation.
I
went out with one of her friends.
That's funny.
I don't lose. I don't do that. I win so much that you're going to get tired of winning. Anyway, the whole thing about it is, though, it's like, it seems like that if they're trying this hard to trade Necas, something with Guentzel is done. Reason being is because keeping Necas is I'd imagine a contingency plan in the event that Guentzel does not stay. So that way you don't lose all that offense at once. So, not to mention, if we say, hey, we signed Guentzel, teams are going to be like, well, we need to take Necas, or you need someone to take Necas off your hands for cap purposes. Then they're going to want him in exchange for less.
Yeah, they possibly are. Detroit finally makes their pick with Nygaard.
He's a winger, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's a winger.
Okay.
I mean, I do believe what you said there is true. I really do. It's just it's in the back of my mind that it's just until it's official, you never know what's going to happen with Guentzel. But let's just say I have 70% confidence, 70 or 80% confidence that
more than we had 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. And honestly, to me, like, I remember when you came on, we were talking about the top questions. Funny enough, I already forgot my top 3 questions. So but I think the Guentzel question is the number 1 question right now.
Yeah, that's the one that we both said is number 1.
Yeah, we did say that. Okay, I forgot. I can't remember, but
we covered a lot in that show, dude. We talked about so much. Because normally, like, when I come on there with you guys, it's 30 minutes, and we were on for like 45. We have so much to discuss right now. It's just we keep getting all these quote unquote updates, and none of this shit is happening.
No, and honestly, it's kind of it's not changing my perspective a whole lot, but I could be wrong about this, but I just don't remember the last draft where a top 10 pick has been traded.
I don't either. Not off the top of my head.
Not off the top of my head.
I mean, if a player was going to get it done, it was going to be Necas.
Exactly. And to be honest, I don't think Carolina has done any fault here. I think they have tried. I really do. But I mean, the holdup is obviously Guentzel. It's not the Necas deal. And I think once the Guentzel problem is solved, then I think we're probably going to see probably Necas get moved here. They're giving him a timeline. If he is not, again, I don't know where the source is coming from, but I heard if Guentzel does not make up his mind by tomorrow, they're going to trade him for a pick. Because they're like, at that point, we can't waste our time.
You might as well get something for him at that point.
Exactly.
If he's not going to sign, if they have matched his offer, because everyone talks about how cheap Carolina is, and this is the one time that it seems like we had a pretty high starting point, and they were like 8x8, and we were like, okay, bet, no problem. I was hoping that maybe they're just hammering out like the trade language, any buyout protection, stuff like that. I was hoping it's the fine print that they're getting through right now. But the fact that nothing still has been said is weird.
Yeah,
I
it is. And I mean, if I was, because I'm trying to put myself in Guentzel's camp, and
mhm.
I'm like, I mean, yeah, I probably would want some time too, but I think Carolina so far there's nothing I'm gonna say to where they should not have done this. I
Mhm.
think they're doing pretty much the right things so far. Now it could go sideways, but I think they're doing the right things for now. I'm happy they're putting a deadline on Gensel because they can't wait forever, and Gensel should not wait forever.
Yeah, we've got other priorities too. Like Guentzel is
Yes.
number one, but we have other stuff we have to worry. Like we got to get Jarvis signed. We got to decide what's going to happen with Necas because if Guentzel doesn't sign, we got to think about keeping him, whether he wants to stay or not. I think that maybe they can find some sort of compromise there. Give him 10 games at center. See how he does if we do keep him.
Yeah.
Give him that shot. At that point, you might as well. The organization needs to have a little bit of like, if it's just any old player saying, no, I'm pissed off, I'm playing wing, I want to play center, I kind of understand why they would be like, no, fuck you, you're acting like a brat. Martin Necas, I don't feel that way about. I think he should have been given a legitimate shot there before. If he stays, I think we at least owe him that much if he stays.
Yes, I do too. Um, I mean, I do think a huge part of it is Brendan Moore's defensive system. Um, and I'm only criticizing Brendan Moore just for this season alone because the roster we had, I thought was a roster that could win the Stanley Cup, and he could not get that team to a Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see how that goes. Actually, you know what? Might have some news here. Pierre LeBrun, 1 minute ago.
Oh, read it.
One potential trade scenario involving Martin Necas is now off the table with the top 15 picks gone. The Canes would have got one of those picks in that trade scenario as part of the package. Doesn't mean Necas won't eventually be dope, but obviously won't be tonight now.
Damn.
Once it got to 10, I knew he wasn't going to get traded because I don't think he's worth trading to for a pick between 10 and 15.
I agree. And because, like, it's like they talked about Buffalo's 11th overall and New Jersey's 10th overall. Buffalo's 11th overall was off the table when they traded it to San Jose. There's no one that I think we really, really, truly needed in the middle part of the first round. So New Jersey was at 10 was it. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
And, it's like one of the things that they talked about a whole lot in regards to New Jersey was Dawson Mercer. I have to do some more research on Dawson Mercer to know if he'd be a good fit or not and be worth Nate just being the main piece to get him and how much extra would have to go back to them or come back to us because I don't think that would be a one-for-one trade with what I do know about Dawson Mercer. So it's just I'm not entirely sure. It's just like
We know the holdup. We know the holdup with Necas trade is because of Guentzel.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we pretty much know that. So
here's
once
one thing.
Guentzel sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. One thing I will say about the Guentzel thing, if everything that's come out so far is true, that his camp said 8x8, and Carolina said okay, we'll match it, and if they're just being quiet after this, his agent is really like it's not Carolina's fault at that point. It's his agent.
No.
Nobody can say that we weren't going to pony up and pay the guy. So, if they did their best to sign him and then on his end they didn't get it done, absolve Carolina of responsibility, move on and build the best team that you can from there. Because even if we take a step back next season, like I've said before, the team we had this past season is going to be nothing compared to the one we have in 3 years.
No, and I agree with that. And I mean, the thing with Guentzel is like, I remember there was an offer, I believe, rumored from Vancouver of 7 years, $9.5 million. And we are offering him 8x8. If he, if Gensel says no, I'm not going to accept this when we have already entered in the realm of his asking price, then I could see Gensel kind of being one. I'm not saying he's the number one most hated Hurricanes if he refuses to accept the offer, but he's going to be up there
Yeah,
because
he
he's
will.
going to piss lots of Hurricane fans off.
Myself included, because like we've all been sitting here like talking about, like I have never seen out of all the players that we've had to sign, I have never seen the fan base be so unified on getting a free agent signed at this point. You know, it's like there was one like, okay, everybody wanted Aho to stay. We knew that was going to get done. We know Jarvis is going to get done. Slavin's done. Like we knew all those were going to happen. But as far as someone we went out at the deadline and got, or someone we traded for and eventually had to worry about signing them later, i.e. Vincent Trocheck, Max Domi, someone we got at the deadline, Dougie Hamilton, someone we got through an offseason trade, so on and so forth. I have never seen the entire fan base throw their hands up in unison and say, sign this guy now. And if the organization did its part, us as fans, all we can do is be supportive and trust in them that they have a contingency plan, which I'm sure they do, in the event that Guentzel decides not to sign, even though they tried to pony up the money.
Yes, and I totally see why. Because the reason why I think is because this guy was a trade deadline asset, and he worked wonderfully next to Aho. Imagine what could happen: a full season of Guentzel, Aho, Jarvis.
Yes. And then they could like look at how good they did after 20 games together, because Guentzel wasn't with Aho immediately when they brought him on.
No.
I remember when they finally put together, okay, I love how defensively competent this team is. But I was like, we got to have some scoring. When Guentzel first got here and they had the line of him, Kuznetsov, and Necas, I was kind of like, finally, we have a line like this that is scary in the offensive zone. Granted, if I'm one of the defensive pairs out there when they're out there, I'm probably standing at the red line waiting for the inevitable turnover that's going to happen. And I'm going to be like, oh, shit, I'm not jumping in the rush if those three are out there. They don't need me. God forbid, don't put Tony D'Angelo out there with them. I don't give a damn if Slavin's with them or not. Don't do that. But I was like, finally, we have this line that rolls up for an offensive zone faceoff, and the other team goes, oh, shit.
It's an intimidating line.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean, it's only super intimidating in one zone, but like that is a power play unit along with Brady Shea or Burnsy or someone like that. You know, we were dying to have something like that. And we finally had it. But Rod, I think, made the right decision putting Guentzel with Aho so that way we could have, you know, the capability spread throughout the lineup and everything. But, you know, it's like if we weren't trying to match to get Guentzel, when are we ever going to be good? But it sounds like the organization is doing their part. And if that's really what they're willing to pony up, if they tried to do that, I have the confidence that they will make the right move to still keep the team competitive, even without Guentzel.
Yes, and especially knowing that Necas is an RFA, like I can wait for Necas's trade, because I do think we're going to trade him at one point. It could be, honestly, I think I could see us trading Necas during free agency.
I do too. There's one other way I see Nate just getting moved tonight. Let me see where they're picking at, because I think Winnipeg is picking, or did they already pick theirs? I might have missed it while replying to comments or something.
I can't see.
Let's see, Washington, Chicago,
any pick
Vegas
at this point being traded to us for tonight.
Okay, so the Jets don't have a first-round pick. So that is off the table.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you package Ellers and that college prospect that they've been trying to give up for Necas, but even
Rutger McGroarty.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I'd be fine with that. But
I'll tell you what, you can have Necas, KK, and a third rounder. You give me Nikolai Ehlers, Rutger McGroarty, and Nino Niederreiter. They would never do that because it's a massive overpayment on their part. But if they said do that, I'd be like, okay, sure, fuck it, I'll do that. But let's see, who are the Capitals picking? He went way higher than I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to be mid-20s in all the mock drafts I read.
Yeah, I can't remember. honestly.
Washington doesn't like to draft defensemen high anyway. They never have.
Sounds like Jim Rutherford.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to draft Erik Karlsson because defensemen take too long to develop. You know who never developed? Zach Boychuk.
Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy. I fucking hated that guy. All right.
You need to tell Sam that if he gets on tonight.
What, that I hate Ryan Murphy? I thought I said it in the show I did with you, that I fucking hate that guy.
Just wait. Just wait, Sam.
Dylan Bollinger says, yeah, you're right. The Wings will be the most improved team next season. Yeah, I had to give it some thought, but I really think that they're going to be the team that improves the most because, like, I thought that them and Columbus are those teams that you look at on paper and say they're kind of where Carolina was when the 2019 or when the 2018, 2019 season started. But then you look at how well Detroit played versus how well Columbus played over this past season, and Detroit's there. They're ready to take that next step to be a playoff team, like being in wild card 2, wild card 1, or maybe even finishing third in the Atlantic if the Stars really line up for them. I think that could really happen. Matthew Powell says if we can't sign Guentzel, there's Kane and Stamkos that we can go after. Patrick Kane will not play here.
No,
I can guarantee you he will not. He's one of those guys. He loves the big markets and the bright lights. I don't see him playing in Carolina. Kind of the same reason why Tarasenko wouldn't. I think it's more not so much about a money thing. It's just they have a certain environment they like to play with, and Carolina's not one of them. BTS says, I'm back. Welcome back, buddy. Fly Henry Fly says, I thought Guentzel and Carolina agreed to 8x8, just not official. That's the problem with it. It's like it seems like, okay, it's like we get all the indications in the world that this is done, and we're just waiting for the formalities of it, and then suddenly all the information flow stops.
Yep. I really think it's just a waiting game to see if Guentzel accepts it, but he can't wait forever. I'm sorry.
Right. BTS says, rumor has it the Panthers aren't re-signing Montour. I'd be okay with going out and getting him if we couldn't keep Shea.
Maybe.
Yeah, it depends. I wouldn't want to pay him a ton. He would probably get more money elsewhere. But as far as being like, hey, here's a Orlov-ish type of contract to bridge you for 2 years, I would do something like that. I wouldn't sign Brandon Montour as a long-term piece, and I like Brandon Montour. But he's definitely someone that I think could, if we couldn't get Shea back and sign someone who has a similar skill set but just not as good for less, Montour would be one of those guys I definitely think we could take a look at.
Yeah, maybe.
Matthew Powell says, wow, another reach. Parasax was ranked by some in the second round. Yeah, like he was on one of the mock drafts I looked at that had Carolina drafting him in 27th overall. So I don't know, because I'm pretty sure I've got that on this. Let me look on the list here. Yeah, Tankathon had him at 27th overall, which would be a Hurricanes draft pick.
Yeah. Hold up real quick. Mm-hmm. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. I'll do some comments real quick. All right, Fly Henry Fly says, I wanted Necas and number 27 for number 4 from Columbus. Yeah, dude, it's none of the trades that it looked like could potentially happen with Necas. None of them have happened tonight. Fly Henry Fly says Shea also has to come back. I just think Shea's priced himself out of the market here with us because of how well he's played. If he comes back, I think it's going to be a short-term type of deal. Like when I was on the way back up here after Game 6, Elliot Friedman said on 32 Thoughts that one of the things that had been offered to Shea was an Orlov type of contract to get him to stay here for a couple more years for a similar amount of money and then maybe give him another contract after the fact. One of the things that Sam Driscoll and I talked about was if you do re-sign Shea, then you trade Orlov, even if you have to retain a little bit of salary. Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
But one of the things that Sam Driscoll talked about was like, if you manage to sign Shea, then you can trade Orlov and, maybe retain a little bit of salary because it's only going to be a year. So I wouldn't mind retaining 25% on Orlov if you keep Shea. That being said, Chatfield getting signed basically says Orlov is going to be here until the end of his contract because that pair is too good. I know it fell off a little bit in the playoffs, but at one point that basically became the best defensive pair we had. And keep in mind, that was the best defensive pair among a pair of Jacob Slavin and Brent Burns and Brett Pesce and Brady Shea that was widely regarded as the best all-around defensive pair in the league by many outside of the Hurricanes camp. So, it's like at this point that would be my reluctance to moving Orlov is more so not so much Dmitry Orlov himself. And I do like Orlov, but how well he plays with Chatfield, it was almost natural chemistry with those two.
It was.
And as big of a Tony D'Angelo fan as I am, I never understood why they tried to put him with Orlov. I knew from the get-go that wasn't going to work. I just knew it.
Yeah. There is one comment on here. I think it's the most recent one. Cole Iserman.
I'm surprised he hasn't got drafted yet.
I am too. So he's definitely a player. Like if he does fall to 27th, not saying he will, but
We're
if he
getting
does,
there.
maybe. But I mean, here's my question to you, Brandon. If we still have the 27th pick, I have my player that I think the Canes should draft. But what about you?
Well, with this latest pick right here, so I didn't really know who I wanted, so I just looked at a bunch of mock drafts. Tankathon had Tarek Parasek. He's off the board. Jet Luchenko went off the board way early. Sasha Boyver just came off the board. Chicago just drafted him 18th overall. That leaves Yegor Surin. Now, someone in the comments, Dylan, thank you very much. Let me pull this guy back up. Nikita Artamanov. This is actually someone Ryan Henkel wrote an article about. And I was reading some stuff about him earlier here on the stream. I think that he could be a good pick. He's a little undersized. He's 5'11". He's got pretty good skating ability, according to this. Pretty good vision. 7 goals, 23 points while averaging 14 minutes in a 54 KHL game season for Torpedo. And I watched this little video of him here. And it looks like he's got some really dynamic playmaking ability. Looks like he's good at creating some time and space here and everything like that. Like, he looks like a pretty solid player and everything, and he looks like he's got a little bit of a 200-foot game, and we know how much Brenda Moore values that. So right now, I'd have to say, just with a very rudimentary point of view, and that's thanks to, someone commenting in here, because I didn't keep up with the prospects that much this season, that would be my choice at the moment. Unless Cole Iserman falls that far, then I would take him.
Yeah, I would too. There is one player, and he was actually listed 17th on the Megan's best available here.
Mm-hmm.
But Ding Luteranu,
Mm-hmm.
he is a center, right-handed center, which I think the Hurricanes need to draft that type of player.
Mm-hmm.
And what amazes me, he is 6'7".
We could use some more size. I like all these kids we have coming up, but minus Morrow and Nikishin, they're all small.
Exactly.
Like, Bradley Nadeau is a twig. Like, he can shoot a puck, but there ain't much to the kid. That's one of the reasons why I'm glad Morrow stayed in college a little bit longer to put some more muscle on, because now he's got some size to him. Like, he's already got some height, but now he's put some muscle on. So that'll be good for him, especially being the offensive defenseman type, because he's going to get hit a lot, jumping in on the rush and everything like that.
Yeah. But he's just my pick just because Canes need that type of player. And when you're at 27th pick, I mean, at that point, it's a crapshoot, but not really, because you still need to draft good. But I mean, if Cole Iserman gets drafted, that's the player that I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm. And the next player getting drafted has a higher than average chance of ending up on LTIR in the middle of February.
No, really? Oof.
Yeah, because it's Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, we have the draft currently muted mainly because I'm live streaming with you.
Yeah, no, mine's muted too. I've just got the subtitle or the closed captions on, so I can kind of keep up with it. And these guys in the chat have been really, really helpful with that. So thank you all.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it's been pretty cool. I thought it was cool that Celine Dion came out for Montreal.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was. There was one GM, Sam, I can't remember who it was, that said, "Oh wow, this is cool." Literally, as he was up on the podium. Oh, Bill Guerin.
Yeah,
from Minnesota.
Bill, if you can hear me, I will not cheer for Team USA if you don't put Slavin on it next year or the year after that, for that matter. I will be finished for 2 weeks.
Well, have you talked about the news on Aho? Now that we're talking about Four Nations.
Oh, the Four Nations thing. No, I talked about it a little bit, and I posted something about it this morning. So the 6 players that Finland picked, particularly the 5 that skate out. So tell me if this is like an all-time NHL all-defense type of line if you put them all together. I'm not saying they would be because Sasha and Aho are going to be the 1-2 punch at center.
Mm-hmm.
Esa Lindell, Miro Heiskanen, Sasha Barkov, Sebastian Aho, and who was the other one? The other skater, because I know UC Saros was the goalie. Mikko Rantanen.
That's right. Yep.
You would never score on them if those 5
No.
are out there. Like, Finland's going to be one of those teams. They're not going to put up a ton of goals, but good luck scoring against them. Like,
it's a great two-way line.
Yeah,
because you have 2 players in Barkov and Aho who are great defensively, I think.
Yeah, and Mikko Rantanen's really good defensively too. And Esa Lindell is one of the few guys I would put kind of in the same conversation as Slavin. So it's like all them, and then when you think about the other players that Finland's going to have, Teuvo Teravainen, really good defensively. He will be on that team. Jesperi Kotkaniemi could potentially be on that team. And when he's playing well, he plays well defensively. Finland is going to be hard to beat just because they're going to do a lot of shot suppression. It's going to be really hard to gain entry on them.
Yes. Finland's going to be a scary team. Obviously, Team Canada and USA probably going to be scary too. And probably Russia too.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know.
No, they're not. No, Russia's not going to be there. It's just Finland, Sweden, us, and the Canadians. One thing I thought they should do, though, especially after the Czechs won the World Hockey Championship, I was like, you guys still have time to add a 5th team and call it the 5 Nations face-off. You could at least do that because clearly the Czechs have a good enough team to be there. It's like you're denying some of the best. Martin Necas, David Pastrnak, you're denying them a chance to play on that stage too. I don't think that's fair. I don't like Russia being excluded from it either because I don't think, geopolitics aside, I don't think that should be a factor in it. I think it should be just about hockey. So just let them play too. I mean, I understand if they had like a massive doping scandal and it directly affected the NHL, that would be a different story, but it didn't. That was an Olympic and IIHF issue.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, that Connolly guy that Vegas drafted apparently did the Michigan.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting. What I think the Hurricanes are just going to draft their pick tonight. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see some action tomorrow, though.
Yeah, no, I'm staying on until they make their pick, and then I'm hoping that I'll log off of here. I'll stretch out. I'll get ready to go to bed, and then you guys will blow my phone up telling me that Guentzel got signed. But
yeah,
even if he is signed at this point, they're not going to announce it until tomorrow. I mean, and Saturday at like 11 in the morning or noon is actually a prime time to announce that. It really is.
It is. I believe so. 2nd to 7th round start tomorrow, which is 11:30 a.m.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching it at work.
Yeah. So what's great is I work from 8 to 12 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. You'll get to see most of it then.
I'll see most of it. Yep.
So, Lou Lamoriello looks like a fucking comic book villain.
That's funny.
No, that's like, I wouldn't want to play for that guy. I really wouldn't. You have to shave every day and you have to wear a certain jersey number. And, I only give out contracts with perfectly even numbers. Like, bro, what the fuck? No, I'm a grown man. I had to shave every day for 8 fucking years. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, no. All right, my computer is about to die, so I guess I'm going to head off. So.
All right, buddy. At any point, you guys still have the links. If any time that I'm still on here and you want to jump back on, I'll be up for a while yet.
Okay, sounds good. See you, Brandon.
See you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
No problem.
All right, we'll get to some more of the comments here. Everybody, that was Sam Wallace. Him and Sam Driscoll are the host of the Caniac Report. Really good friends of mine. I highly recommend you checking out their podcast. They usually upload twice a week, and that's 2 times a week that I know what I'm listening to on the way to work, and depending on how long it takes me to get to work, sometimes also on the way back. So let's get to some more of the comments here. Dylan Bollinger says that venue is pretty cool. Yeah, my girlfriend said the same thing earlier when we were having dinner out in the living room, and then she proceeded to really make me laugh because she started making fun of Megan Chaika's like hair extensions, and she said that they looked fake, and I was like, all right, let's see here. BTS says, I hate when other teams do big things, and then there's us just watching. Waiting to see what happens tomorrow because so far it's like none of the stuff they said that was going to happen happened. I'm wondering who the Islanders are going to draft here because they're in a pretty weird spot. Cole Eiserman is officially sliding, and now he's off the board. Out of every goalie in their prime, which one would you want for the Canes in NHL history? That's tough. Patrick Waugh. That's I don't know, man. That would be a three-way tie for me, I think, between Patrick Waugh, Martin Brodeur, and Marty Turco. Like, out of all the goalies I've liked, out of NHL history in their prime, like that's a tough call because I like those three guys in particular. I guess if I had to pick, like if someone said pick now, I would say Patrick Waugh. Maybe the generic answer, but like if you ask me, he's still the best goalie that ever lived. Trevor Connolly also available. I think he just got drafted though, didn't he? Oh yeah, Vegas just drafted him. That's right. Okay, so he'll be on LTIR in a couple of years. Dean Latourneau, that name is familiar. I think he'll slide to the second round. Okay. Connolly may be sliding due to his controversy. I'm actually not sure what that is. I'll look it up. Rantanen is another one of my favorite non-Hurricanes. Mine too. Like really, really good two-way player. Like I said, Finland is going to be a hard team to score on. They really are. You know, it's like if Luke and Quentin Hughes and Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, Cale Makar, and Nathan McKinnon, whoever else you want to name from those other teams, Erik Karlsson from Sweden, Erik Karlsson from Sweden, and whoever else think that they're just going to walk through the neutral zone and get into the offensive zone cleanly, really easily against Finland. They got another thing coming. That team is going to deny entry so much. It's like they're basically going to have to play Brenda Moore caliber hockey just to have any offensive zone time against that team. They are going to be hard to beat from how good they are defensively. Yep, there went Connolly. I love LaRose. Chad LaRose is one of my favorite all-time Hurricanes by far. I would have to rank him in the top 10 probably. I would definitely say he's among my favorite wingers because my favorite wingers ever are UC Jokinen, or let me put it in a particular order. Tuomo Ruutu, Justin Williams, UC Jokinen, and Chad LaRose. Those are my four favorite Hurricanes wingers of all time. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to jump this far. There we go. BTS says Matthew Tkachuk ran in the ocean with the cup. Could that make the cup roster? Is it going to be okay? Oh, dude, don't worry about the cup. The cup's going to be fine. Like people like Phil Pritchard and all them. Well, one, there's more than one Stanley Cup. I'll just throw that out there. There's more than one because I've been next to the one that they actually hand out at like the Stanley Cup Finals, and then there's the one that they keep all nice and polished. That's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. There's more than one Stanley Cup, and the last time I was next to the Stanley Cup, I was playing pickup in Reston, Virginia, and they brought it into the building. They were having a viewing there, and a bunch of us went and took a picture with it after we got off the ice, and you could see where it was all dented and scratched and everything like that. The actual real Stanley Cup, though, don't worry. Pritchard and all those guys, they go around taking care of it and everything, so nothing bad will happen to that trophy. They really won't. Like, somebody would go, like, if he accidentally dropped it in the ocean and it started to float off, somebody would swim out there and get it. Nothing is going to happen to it. That's like, it's guarded like a fucking nuclear weapon. Like that thing will not get lost. And if the Florida Panthers did accidentally let the cup out in the ocean, the entire Coast Guard, Navy, and everything else would be out there until they found it. And then they would be made fun of because be like, well, they didn't get, they're still the cupless cats because they're the ones who took the cup into the ocean and fucking lost it. BTS, not the band. There better be some rust protection on that thing. Oh yeah, no, they take care of it. I guarantee you, they polish it off and they make sure that absolutely no corrosion builds on it, no salt would stay in it because salt water corrodes shit really easily. For example, like when I lived near the ocean, this trailer hitch I had on my old truck, it corroded in like the first one I had, it corroded in like a few months because I lived near the beach. and all the salt water or all the salt coming off the ocean and everything got on it and everything. So basically what I started doing was I would just pull it off, take it inside, and I'd polish it down really good and everything like that, make sure that it was clean. And then I got to the point where instead of just having it on the truck, because I don't think that's legal in Virginia anyway, I would just put it in the box and leave it in the truck until I needed it. Dylan Bollinger says, got to wait 7 more picks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see, all right, Montreal's making their next one now at 21st overall. I would hope so. Yeah, don't worry, BTS. The Stanley Cup will be protected. Hasek made some absurd saves. Imagine a tandem of him and Urbe. That would be heart-pounding and heart-stopping, and it would also be really fun to watch, but it would antagonize the shit out of me. Like, all the Bruins fans I know during their 2011 Cup run, I think it was, they were like, yo, I love Tim Thomas, but also at the same time, I am antagonized by Tim Thomas because the dude would come all the way to, seemingly the top of the circle to make a save. He actually makes Kochetkov look like a very reserved and conservative goalie by comparison with how far he'd come out at times. My pick of Dominik Hasek. Oh, wait, we have another intruder. There we go.
How's it going?
Hey, buddy, good to see you.
I heard Sam said you had something you wanted to tell me.
About what? I said a lot of shit there. I don't remember what.
I don't know.
I've actually done nothing but talk about what?
Ryan Murphy, I think.
Yeah, fuck Ryan Murphy. I hate that guy.
Yeah. My most unproud jersey I ever procured was a Ryan Murphy jersey.
Oh yeah, he told me that the other night, Sam.
I think did I tell you that? Did I ever tell the story about the Ryan Murphy jersey and why I no longer have it?
No.
So I had the Ryan Murphy jersey in college. It was 2019. I was wearing it for Game 7 against the Caps. We go down 2-0. I take the jersey off, and I'm cussing out the Capitals, and I throw the jersey into my bedroom. I look at my roommate and say, if we win this game, I'm going to give this to you. So after we scored the overtime winning goal, and I'm going all crazy, I stop in my tracks, run to my bedroom, grab the jersey, and throw it at him and say, it's yours. And they're all just laughing because they think it's the funniest thing that I just did that.
Oh, I don't know if I ever told you the story about what I did after Game 7. I'll get to that in a little bit after. I'll wait until we have our 27th pick. Yeah, Dominik Hasek, that goalie was he was absurd with how aggressive that he played the game. A lot of people say that Kochetkov right now is kind of the closest thing to him because a bunch of other goalies are they're kind of all the same now. Kochetkov is only he's one of the few that really stands out in terms of how aggressive he is, how far he'll challenge to, try and prevent a shot opportunity. Dylan Bollinger says, yes, Patrick was a beast, but in my book, it's Martin Brodeur. Dude, it's close for me, man. Like I said, my three favorites are Patrick Waugh, Martin Brodeur, and Marty Turco. Those are the three that I have a hard time. You're the goalie expert, Sam. Tell me what you think.
Marty Brodeur.
Marty Brodeur? Okay.
Marty Brodeur all day.
I have a hard time choosing between those three. I think that those three are just top tier.
I mean, in my defense, I grew up watching Brodeur in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
So I love everything about Marty Brodeur. I think he's something special.
Mm-hmm.
Cool guy. After we beat the Devils and that series, I saw Marty Brodeur walking out of PNC Arena, and so did a couple of other people. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's Marty Brodeur.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple Devils fans I was chatting with. And I was like, that was Brodeur, right? And they were like, yeah, it was Brodeur. We said, we didn't go talk to him, though, because he looked pissed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But I love Brodeur.
I mean, we've kind of whipped their ass a lot for the last few years, so he probably wasn't in a good mood.
No.
But yeah, everything I've heard about Marty Brodeur, everyone says fierce competitor off the ice. He's a pretty nice dude. It's just when he's not in a good mood after something like that, just leave him alone.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think that's kind of a thing with goalies too, though. When so after Fayetteville Fire Ants games, they would have meet and greets a lot of times for home games, right? If they didn't have to get on the bus to go play somewhere the next day, typically. If we lost, we had a goalie named Ken Shepard, who was actually at one point, I believe, drafted by the Rangers, and he fell all the way to playing in the Central Hockey League, which was competing with the ECHL at the time for the top AA hockey, or thereabouts. That's kind of the skill level it was. If we lost, he did not come to the meet and greets after. He did not like to be fucked with at all. And he came back and played for the Fire Ants too, because he played for the Fayetteville Force first in the CHL, then came to play for the Fire Ants in what eventually became the SBHL. But, relatively quiet guy, really nice dude. But if they lost, he did not want to be fucked with. He took everything on himself, even if the team in front of him didn't play well and it wasn't his fault. He still wouldn't blame anybody but himself.
I mean, sometimes you get players like that.
All right, Michael Haig is going 21st overall to Montreal. He is a center, 4th in the USHL, scoring with 75 points.
Good, solid player, solid center. Someone I think Carolina could have benefited from, but he
Yeah.
goes to Montreal. I don't know if they really needed a center, but
I mean, last time they drafted a center pretty high, we offer-sheeted him, and now he's not working out for us.
that's true. I still, Sam and I agree on the guy that we like, 6'7" dude. It's hard to pass up on a guy that, you need that kind of player in this organization. Even if he ends up being just a 4th-line center for you in the National Hockey League. That's a good replacement for Jordan Stahl when he retires.
He's going to be Matt Rempe, but instead he takes face-offs.
Works for me.
Yeah, well, we need someone with some size and some physicality. Nikishin is going to help with that. He'll be intimidating enough on his own. But if we're going to play, and you've pointed this out before, if we're going to play this crash and bang, dump and chase type of hockey, yes, I understand we're going to have some skilled players and everything like that. But at some point or another, we got some big boys that, going to, throw the body when they get in there and everything. That's one of the reasons why I said, if we were to bring Lindholm back and go get Ehlers, aligned with those two, and Svechnikov would do exactly what the fuck Brind'Amour wants.
I still think you need to change up that system.
Yeah.
So far, it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good enough. Again, the system hasn't gotten it done. Looked at the roster we had, wasn't good enough again, or the system is the problem, right? Why does Nate just want to leave? Because he doesn't believe the system works. The reality is skilled guys don't want to play here because they know it's not going to be what they want to do. They're not going to be able to go out and dance around a player like Jeff Skinner, Connor McDavid, Marty Necas are capable of, because that's not what Rod wants. He wants to dump the puck in and go get it. Maybe the analytics like that. Okay. Well, doesn't win Stanley Cups.
It seems like the analytics wouldn't like dump and chase, though. It seems like possession-driven analytics wouldn't favor temporary losses of possession. That's just my assessment of it. I could be wrong. It's just, it seems like in this NHL, statistically speaking, in a post-2-line pass era, dump and chase is not as advantageous in every situation as it used to be. And, it's like the little bit I've... Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you finish.
The little bit I played forward, I have to play dump and chase because I'm an effort player. I know that I'm not playing in the NHL or anything, but I do that just because it's my game. That being said, when we're talking about the top 6 that we could potentially have, if we keep Guentzel, Jarvis will get signed, Aho, and then you have another line of, say, Lindholm, Ehlers, and Svechnikov. As much as I like most of what Brind'Amour does, I do agree there needs to be more clean entries, and it seemed like as the season went on that started happening more, but it dried up when we needed it the most.
Yep.
And that was against the Rangers in the playoffs. And Sam and I, before his computer died, we were talking about when they initially put the Kuznetsov, Guentzel, and Necas line together. I was sitting here saying, I'm like, I have waited forever for us to put a line like this together where they take an offensive zone face, or they skate out there for an offensive zone face-off, and the other team looks up and goes, oh, shit. I have waited for this for a long time. I understand having defensive competency in most of your lineup, but this is where I kind of agree with you, but I also kind of agree with Griff. I take the hybrid approach. I like all the defensive competency, but I would like to at least have one line that we say you're together 5-on-5 and you're together on the power play. Go out there, take offensive zone face-offs, and put the puck in the net.
It's just it's fascinating, right? The dump and chase, grind it out kind of style. If you were to play that game, if Rod Brind'Amour was the coach of the Miracle team, we lose, right? Because that's the system that the NHL, the All-Stars, that was the system at the time of the National Hockey League, right? Or Brooks created that, it was done by the Russians, and then Brooks mimicked it, which is why that a team not as good skated with Russians, right? They did that transition game. They did that game where they played a very similar style to the Russian national or the Soviets, right? So maybe it's not the best system in the world. Like, that's Rod's game. That's how Rod wants to play. That's how he played in the National Hockey League. Totally get it. However, the reality of the situation is it doesn't work for every player, right? People like Marty Necas are going to get pissed off, and now you're going to lose talent, right? I personally believe, I don't think Jake Guentzel's signing in Carolina. If he was, would have been done now, right? We gave him what he wanted. Now, I believe they're negotiating in bad faith. They asked for a deal. We said, fine, we're going to agree to the terms that you said. And now they're saying, oh, wait, never mind. Oh, that tells me you didn't want to be here. You made an ask. You didn't think we'd match it. We matched it. And now you're saying, you know what, never mind.
Me and Sam were just talking about that.
Skill doesn't want to be in Carolina. It just doesn't want to be. Nate just doesn't want to be here. Tarasenko doesn't want to be here. Now Guentzel looks like he doesn't want to be here. He's going to go play in Vancouver or go play in Tampa, right? I mean, he's going to go play somewhere where skill matters. And I know Griff and AB and sometimes Sam and maybe even you criticize me saying, oh, skill does want to be here. Prove it. So far, I'm right. Skill doesn't want to be here. Aho's game is not based on pure skill. Signs the contract here. Makes a whole heck of a lot of sense, right? He can play that kind of game. He is the most skilled guy in the National Hockey League. His game is tough, grind it out, go out and make some good hockey plays, right? Same with Seth Jarvis. He's a tough dude. Same with a lot of these players that are on this roster, right? I think the most and if you look again, Teravainen, right? He's not a tough guy, grinded out kind of player. He's a skilled passing guy. He's out. I'm just saying, so far, I may be getting all the criticism in the world, but I'm right.
Okay,
skilled guys.
Hold that for 1 second. Just one thing with the draft. So Sports Grid had Yegor Surin at 27th overall, which would potentially be someone the Hurricanes would pick. He is now off the board because the Nashville Predators have drafted him. So we will continue on this particular topic right here. So here's the weird thing. I want to wait to see how everything hammers out with Guentzel before I give a total and complete opinion on it. What kind of annoys me about it, though, is if if his camp is negotiating in bad faith, if they, because there's this whole thing, oh, Carolina's cheap. Carolina doesn't like to pay their players. And they said 8x8, and Carolina said, yes, we will match that. And then suddenly they're like backing off on that. Then, that kind of pisses me off because we wasted our time when we have other shit that we have to worry about, i.e. Jarvis getting signed, Nate's just getting traded, trying to keep our defense intact. And if we expended all that time granted, Tulsky is not the only guy working the phones. Darren York is, numerous other employees are. But that was time, energy, and resources that got spent on somebody who didn't want to be here. I have to put a lot of that on the Guentzel camp, using us just as a bargaining chip. So in that regard, if that's actually what happened, fuck him. But I would like to think that's not what happened. I'm going to wait until everything, the dust settles on everything. But at the same time, like, I don't know, man. I have my questions about some of the things with the system. It looked to me like it evolved a little bit over the regular season, and then everything dried up in the playoffs. So we'll have to see what they do next season. But like I was talking about it earlier, if we're going to commit to this type of system, that's why I think we need to go get Nikolai Ehlers. We need to go get Anthony Duclair. If we're going to double down on it, we need to double down on it. And I think Jake Guentzel does still fit, even if we do that. I'm just wondering what his camp is thinking.
If you're Jake Guentzel, Tarasenko, Necas, do you want to play for Rob Brindamore or do you want to play for Peter Laviolette? I mean, I'm just curious. Like, what do you think?
It's a tough question for me because, like, I'm an effort grind it out type of player myself. I have a hard time knowing what it's like being the skilled guy on a hockey team. So it's
also comes down to personal preference too.
Yeah, Sam said it comes down to personal preference, and I think that's fair as well. And it comes down to your style. But I believe if you're those guys, I mean, wouldn't you rather go play with a coach that's going to be offensively minded versus? I believe that the Hurricanes fans that want to defend Rob Brindamore to the grave would rather lose a game 1-0 than go out and change the system and win it 5-2. I believe that, or 5-3, 5-4. They don't want to win those kind of games or have those kind of players on this team. I want to be wrong that Rod's system can't win a Stanley Cup, but I've had 6 years of evidence that I'm right, that it can't win a Stanley Cup.
Here's one thing I'll challenge you on the 6 years aspect, and here's the reason why I say that. 29. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about, quantifying a successful season versus a non-successful season. 2019, we exceeded expectations. 2020, did something happen?
Yeah. Anaheim is trading up with Toronto.
Oh, something else that doesn't involve us.
So this pick is moving.
Okay. The 2019 playoffs, I won't count those in that because we exceeded expectations.
No, I agree.
Like,
I
wildly.
Completely agree. I don't count that. I'm just using 6 as a barometer of playoffs. I honestly think the number is more
4.
The year that we won we won the divisions. I think it's fair to say, in some of those years, like in one of those years when we were in the Central Division, we were like the second best team in the national. Yeah, we were like the second best team in the National Hockey League.
Yeah,
we played Nashville in the first. That should have been a year we went all in and gone after a Stanley Cup. Even the roster as constructed that year, I think we were capable of doing it. We failed. I think this year we failed.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, in 2021, we were also playing against a Hut team too because of the Kucherov thing. So, like, I let that one slide because it was a regular. Because not to mention, like, we spent all season so the Central Division was decent, but it wasn't nearly as good as like playing in the normal Metropolitan Division when it was at its height. So everything was a regular there. It was only a 56-game season. And all the other factors of it being different. So personally, I don't count 2020 or 2021 in that barometer, and that's just my reason being is because we only played against 7 teams. If Tampa did what I really think they did in regards to Kucherov, and he was sitting on a beach drinking Mai Tais and then came back when it was convenient for them monetarily, that would have been the year to do it because nobody was going to investigate shit because of COVID and all that. So, it's like till this day, I think that Kucherov was not nearly as hurt or not hurt nearly as bad as they said he was. I genuinely believe that. Oh, you're a man of good taste, I see. It looks like you're drinking something similar to what I drink.
Is that Crown?
Yeah, Crown and Coke in a can. I don't know if they got it down there or not.
This is Crown Vanilla and Pepsi.
Good man. And then
So I tried earlier. I made Sam a drink too and loved it. I did Crown Blackberry because that's new.
Ooh, I didn't know that was a thing.
It's brand new. They were limiting 1 box per customer at the liquor store I went to. Crown Blackberry, blueberries, blueberry lemonade, and ice. Put it in a blender, and it makes a really nice like summer drink. It's very good.
That sounds good. Next time I come down there, we got to do that.
Oh,
and by the way, when the schedule comes out on July 2nd, we all got some planning to do. Like, I want you guys to come up here for a game. I really do. It'll be fun. Yeah. And I know you being all like someone who loves the West Wing and shit, you're going to go around DC and be like, oh, all this cool shit. I know you've been up here before, but still.
Yeah, so I've been to DC like 5 or 6 times. Love DC. Granted, the last time I went there, I almost got killed, but that's normal.
That's DC, bro. It's like I know people who have been stationed in Fayetteville and been to DC both, and they say they felt safer in Baghdad. Like that's fucking normal at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that too.
But yeah, so let's see. Anaheim is on the clock now. Okay.
It was like the 31st and another later pick, 50th, high second round pick.
Now I'm trying to remember.
31 and 58 for Toronto, 23.
Okay. Now I'm trying to remember what was I going to look at next here.
But I'll just my overall.
Yeah, go finish your thought. Yeah.
At some point, you have to, and how I think would make sense, right? I think Stahl's line should play that style, right? The dump and chase, grind it out style. But you should have rosters or lines rather that do the whole, running gun offense, dancing around with the puck, put the puck in the net. And, a Skinner, a Necas, that's their style of game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see, that's where I was hoping Guentzel would fit because he's still got that defensive, grindy aspect to his game, but he's also skilled. It's like you guys said it shortly after we traded for him on your show. It's like having another Aho, except he plays wing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Guentzel's great, but, I mean, he might want to actually go play just go play for a team where his main responsibility is putting the puck in the net. In Carolina, he has other responsibilities. Yeah, no,
I see where you're coming from with that. And also it's like there's a lot of people who like may think that you don't like Rod, but I've heard you say the things about how you don't like the fact that he hadn't gotten in the Hall of Fame. So it's like I understand where everyone's coming from with their particular criticisms of things and everything like that. I really do. I do want the system to change a little bit more. I saw some of those changes, particularly, I want to say January or so last season and onward. But when we had to play against the same a good team and beat them 4 out of 7 times, some things dried up. Now, the one thing I really want to change, I would like for Brindamore to relinquish control of the power play and the Hurricanes to just hire somebody for it. Because if we go 2 for 15 on the power play in the first 3 games of that series, we win it in 6. So I would, and then that would be one less thing that Rod has to worry about as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of teams are starting to hire power play coaches now. And it's like I've got zero issue with the penalty kill. I've got zero issue with the defense. Tim Gleason's doing a great job there, but for a modern power play, I think we need somebody other than Brindamore and Jeff Daniels coaching it. I think it's time to, delegate that out to somebody else. It can't hurt to try it at this point.
No.
It dried up when we needed it the most. So I'm not advocating for anybody to lose their job. I'm advocating for us to add somebody to make something better.
Darren Drager just tweeted trade coming. 3rd of the night. I don't know what it is.
We will see. Stein Solberg, a defenseman, just got drafted by the Anaheim Ducks. That is the 23rd overall pick in your 2024 NHL draft.
Utah is moving up in an exchange of picks with Colorado.
Oh boy.
Be curious to see if we trade down at this point. I think that's more likely than anything
We've
big
done it
happening
before.
tonight. Yeah, I mean, the big dude that Sam and I like is he's a guy that can get drafted later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think it's possible. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, now that Colorado's on the clock, we'll go through some more comments here. One of our mutuals here, Eric says, bit of a wet fart tonight as far as the Hurricanes go. None of the hype panned out, and not sure there's really anyone left to be excited about for a first pick. No, and I think that bodes well to the point that you were just saying, Sam, that they're probably going to trade it down and just draft more players, because that's what we like to do. I'm not worried about the Hurricanes never having a loaded prospect pool again. That's the one thing I don't worry about going into the future. Like, now, how many of those guys are going to pan out? Only the players themselves can decide that, and the organization itself with how they develop them. But as far as us having players to develop, I'm not worried about that with the way that they draft. That's the one thing that has significantly improved in the last few years is the scouting and the drafting. And I'm glad that it's like that. Matthew Powell says, I got Ryan Murphy's autograph once after a game in which he didn't play. Now, here's one thing I will say about Ryan Murphy. I don't know anything about him as a person, but everyone I know that met him said he was a really cool guy. I just didn't like his game. I didn't like his game. I didn't like John Michael Lyles. I typically don't like offensive defensemen. The only two I've ever liked.
I like JML.
No, I like him as a person. I just didn't like his game. It's just I felt like he got burned all the time. There's only 2 offensive defensemen I've ever really liked: Yoni Pitkanen and Tony DeAngelo. That's it.
I like Yoni. I was at the game where his career ended.
I was watching it on TV, dude. That was brutal. Fuck.
I mean,
I remember where I was sitting at watching that. I was sitting at Chicks Beach Grill in Virginia Beach, and I saw that happen. And when him and Chimera went into the boards like that, I was like, oh, fuck, he's done. And when I said he's done, I was like, for the season, but then he's done.
I was sitting up in upper bowl corner with my buddy, and he goes into the boards, and it's just we're sitting there watching in horror what had happened. But yeah.
And they changed the rule because of that, thankfully. I'm glad they didn't go to the full-on, like, international style no-touch icing. But at the same time, it's kind of like, the Players Association on multiple occasions said they wanted to institute the bear hug rule. Basically, you can do that. You hit the boards. You hear the sound of them hitting the boards. The official says, okay, let him go. If he doesn't relinquish him, like, right after the impact. Because the way that I think the Players Association wanted it done, you could do the bear hug once you were close to the goal line, but you had to let them go as soon as you hit the boards. The Players Association wanted that, and I was like, that is a good rule, and that will do more for player safety than has been done in years. And it goes back to the whole best sport, worst league thing. That rule should have been implemented a long time ago, and I'm wondering if we're going to have another goddamn Yoni Pitkanen before they decide to do it.
I hope not. I mean, that was it's a horrible thing to really to see in person. I mean, the team was so bad at that point. There wasn't a lot of people in there, but it was still. I mean, it was quiet. You could hear a church mouse running across the ice because it was that brutal when that happened. I mean, I loved Pitkin. I mean, Pitkin, Corvo, Jay Harrison.
You know what? I'll throw Brett Hedican in there too because I think he was more of an offensive defenseman, and that guy had some of the most incredible skating I've ever seen. I mean, yeah, Corvo, I'll throw him in there too. He had an absolute cannon, but like I felt like Corvo still had a pretty good, solid like defensive game too.
Corvo's nickname was "Oh No Corvo."
Yeah,
because he would just be a disaster sometimes defensively.
He would.
It's ironically that Tony DeAngelo wore the same number.
And you know what else is ironic about it? Tony DeAngelo won't be here next season, but then he'll be back again. Joe Corvo played with the Hurricanes 3 times, and he wore 77. That's what's going to happen with Tony. He'll be back, and it'll be like he played with the Hurricanes 3 times and also wore 77. And a lot of people hated Joe Corvo. A lot of people hate Tony DeAngelo, so the script has been written.
I don't know if Tony's not coming back. There hasn't been much said. My guess is he goes to free agency, doesn't get what he wants, and Carolina's like, dude, we're obviously not going to be as good next year on the blue line. Why don't you want to just come back?
Well, here's how I think that they should do things with Tony. Okay, so here's 2 things about it. One, we're not 100% sure that Morrow's ready to make the team. He probably is. But what happens if he's not? Then you have another spot to fill if he's not ready, or you throw him to the Wolves too early, and then we have another Jake Bean situation. You know Tony can play bottom pair minutes. You know Tony can quarterback power play at the NHL level. There's no questions to really be asked with him. And people are saying he lost a step. Well, I looked up his edge metrics. He's just as fast now as he was when they started tracking it. So that's not true. And additionally, Tony, like I said, is the one guy on our blue line that I would say you play forward, and he'd figure it out pretty fucking quick, I think. I really do.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well.
Let's see what else we got here. Matthew Powell says, that's back when I was young and stupid. Like I said, I don't dislike Ryan Murphy as a person, but damn, I hated watching him play. I was like, the fuck is wrong with this guy? BTS says, my guess, TWT has a Hannafin jersey. No, I don't. If I did, it would be in a fucking package that said Charmin to be used as toilet paper. Fuck that guy. I know he loves getting that. I'm waiting on somebody to, like, when I get my P.O. box to start, like, mailing out stuff that I do for giveaways and everything, like the raffle I'm going to do for the Guentzel sweater in the event that still happens. It's like, I guarantee you somebody's going to start sending me Noah Hannafin memorabilia, and I'm going to put it all on the wall here because I'm like, I gotta appeal to the audience. Kane's had Brodor's number. Bro, we lit his ass up, especially in 2009 when Jokinen scored that goal on him in the last second, and he's like going over there yelling at the officials and smashing his stick up against the boards and shit. Cole Baudon has now been drafted by the Utah, whatever the fuck they're called.
Yep.
28
center.
Goals, 62 points, a center that played for the Barrie Colts, which is also where Andrei Svechnikov played.
Well, he's gone. So not a guy that's going to come to Carolina, but we still could get a center. So that's
yeah. Well, like I was telling Sam earlier when he was on here with me, if we do by some chance keep Necas, give him 10 games at center. Please give him a chance. Meet him in the middle. Like, if he really fucks it up that bad, then put him back on wing or trade him, whatever. But he's a good enough player to where I feel like he should be given that opportunity. Like I said, I agree with 90% of the decisions Rod has made with this organization, but the one I've had reoccurring issues with is Necas not being tried at center.
Yeah, I agree. I'd give him a shot. I don't know why you don't. And again, I still change things up a little bit with the system because you have to make it appealing for skilled guys to come here. Like, people want to play for Rod, but I don't think it's a universal every player wants to play for Rod. It's a specific kind of player. Now, are we a destination? I think we have been for the past 4 years, maybe even 5, but I'm starting to wonder if it's becoming one of those apparent things where it's like the Nechases, the Skinners, the Tarasenkos in the world don't want to play here, right? I mean, I'll use, because one of the comments was Holla didn't want to play here. Well, Holla's a skilled guy. That makes a lot of sense why those two just didn't get along. And maybe Holla had the guts to speak his mind. Like, dude, you're not utilizing me right. Now, I think there's a lot more to that story than not. And Holla.
I think a part of it has to do with what happened to Holla while he was here. I won't say what it was, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think he just wanted to change the scenery after that, and I don't blame him.
No, not at all. And at the end of the day, you need to show that there is some, you have to show that you're willing to maybe make some changes, make some concessions that, maybe, my system doesn't work. One of the most stubborn coaches in the National Hockey League is Peter Laviolette. That's why he's never coached anywhere too long, because he won't change anything up. He won't do anything because that's how he is. And he gets fired. Things change. He goes to another team and he changes it up a little bit. That's just the legacy of Peter Laviolette. Paul Maurice, I think, is very similar to Robert, right? That defensive style. But he's allowing his skilled guys to take over a game sometimes, right? Matthew Tkachuk, Alexander Barkov, right? He's got guys that can go do that. Sam Reinhart, Carter Verhaeghe, skilled players that can go out there and are known for goal scoring, right? Sam Reinhart's not known for his defensive acumen. He's known for going and putting the puck in the net. Dude, didn't he pop like 50 plus this year?
57.
57.
And he scored the game-winning goal in the cup. The series-winning goal, the cup-winning goal. Now, here's one thing. AB and I talked about this one time a few months ago. This is one thing I totally agree with you on. For example, you have your top six that are the guys that generate offense off the rush, do a lot of clean entries, score you a lot of goals. You have your bottom six, which is more of the crash and bang, going there, turn it into a war of attrition in the offensive zone and make them regret even trying to get out. That's true. Now, here's one thing, and this failed to materialize in Game 6, which is the one time that I really wanted it to. When you have a 3-1 lead like that, or a 4-1 lead, whatever, for example, you have a lead of greater than 1 goal. That, in theory, should be a perfect time for the dump the puck in, get fresh legs, puck retrieval with numbers, and just make it frustrating as hell for them to get out of their own zone, to create any type of transition plays. It's a good way to play when you have the lead. I still think, like you're saying, they need to adapt a more offense off the rush, clean entry type of part to some of their game. But the weird thing about the dump and chase, the puck retrieval with numbers thing is that was the one time I wanted to see it show up was in Game 6, because me and AB were sitting there watching all this. And I have a quote from AB here that I will read here in a moment because I promised him I would. And Lord knows I can't let him down. I don't know what he'd do if I did.
Depends on if he's sober or not.
Well, I gave him an invite. I've been waiting on him to show up and, say his piece and everything, but I'll do it for him because I invited all y'all and I was just like, whenever you guys want to be in here, be my guest. But
who's been here tonight anyway?
Just you and Sam.
Okay.
Yeah. But the way I described it to AB, I said the clean entries and the generating offense off the rush, that's kind of like your starting pitcher. Okay, we're going in the third period. We have a 3-goal lead. Then you bring in your relief pitcher, the dump it in. Okay, I've only been out here 20 seconds, but I'm going to go change lines, get fresh legs out here because it's late in the game. We're getting tired. Go in there, puck retrieval with numbers. Oh, look, they got out. No, they didn't. We forced an icing, offensive zone face-off. And you continue to have that pressure. That type of system is much easier to play over the course of, say, 20 or 30 minutes of a game and have everybody buy into it and continue to do it, because the puck retrieval with numbers does not work unless everybody does it. So if you get that lead and you play that way and you don't have to do it the entire 60 minutes, I think it would work a little bit better. And that's where I think you start to have a hybrid type of approach where you use what Rod did that worked well, but you also bring in some things that, statistically speaking, should win you more games.
Yeah.
Bruins are making their pick right now.
I'm about to be really pissed.
What?
They chose the big dude, didn't they?
Yep.
The Bruins just drafted the guy you wanted, didn't they?
Yep.
Fucking Boston. Always ruining everybody's night. Their clam chowder sucks anyway. The San Francisco kind is way better.
Yep.
That's a big fucking kid. Holy fucking shit.
That was really
Jesus.
close.
Oh my gosh. 2 picks away.
Damn.
Oh my gosh. 2
That
picks
was so
away
close.
from much needed player.
I know that this doesn't help anybody but me, but the Braves won. So let's see. Matthew says we'll probably get a shot at the next best Russian. Hey, Travis C, what's up, buddy? Hey man, sorry I missed your stream. It's been a while. No, it's all good, pal. We've all been busy. I've been having to carve out time for all this stuff because we've been at the forefront of the news because of Guentzel and everything like that.
Oh, this makes me so mad. He was perfect.
Oh,
for
don't
this
worry. You'll probably
team.
get more mad with whoever we actually pick.
Yeah, dude.
Oh no, we're gonna draft a defenseman, and I'm gonna go batshit. I told Sam.
I don't think we're going to draft a defenseman. If Dundon's orders about that are still standing, we're not going to draft a defenseman because he said he won't draft defenseman in the first round.
Dude's perfect for this team. He's
not done growing into his full body yet either.
He's exactly what we needed. Boston doesn't need that crap. I mean, yeah, it's Boston's freaking game, but we need. Oh, he's bigger than everybody on stage.
I mean, to be fair,
he's like perfect. We're never gonna get someone like that.
Well, to be fair, one of the people on the stage is Gary Bettman.
Oh, he's so perfect.
Let's see what we got here. Matthew Powell says, see, that's why I wouldn't take Latorno at 2070. He's really big, but he might end up like Michael Rasmussen, big, but not too much else.
That's okay. He can play fourth line and beat people up. I mean, you don't have anybody like that.
I mean, we got 3 more years of Jordo at least. Irfan Shahid.
This guy's awesome.
Irfan Shahid says news came out from Frank Saravelli that there's something holding up this deal, and he thinks that Vancouver is where Jake might want to go. If that's the case, then they're just using us for leverage at this point. They need to just stop wasting their time with him and get Jarvis taken care of and try to keep Shea. Something. Like, if that's what they're doing, then, they need to be done with that.
Yeah.
Saravelli is an absolute doof. Yeah, and so far everything he said in regards to Necas, none of it's come true. Pagnota has been more wow, holy fuck. Pagnota has been more accurate than Saravelli has lately in regards to Necas. David Pagnotta Insider has been more accurate than goddamn Frank Saravelli has lately. And I have to thank our friend Griff from Caniac Sessions for saying Dave Pagnotta Insider, because I never would have thought up that shit on my own, and that is funny. Eric Heinke says, does Carolina need to go $8.5 million for Jake? I'm starting to think Jake's just using us as a bargaining chip. If that's really what's going on, I think by the morning, hopefully we'll know, because I'm kind of getting tired of this saga. It should have been done by now.
I mean, the benefit here is if Stamkos goes to free agency, you offer that money to Stamkos, and you give him how many years gets him to 40. And say, here's this to 8.5 or 8, because
that would fix the power play.
Oh, fixes your power play, your center position. I mean, you fix a lot of stuff there, especially if you don't want to go out and get Lindholm. You're in a position where you can leverage cap space and go still get a guy that's going to be very capable and produce a lot. Not for the 8 years that, not for the 8 years that Guentzel would do that. But yeah, I think it's done.
I will say, if I had my choice between Stamkos and Lindholm, I'm taking Lindholm personally. I mean, we're stacking up on Selke candidates on the team. We might as well go ahead and get Lindholm too, because he can provide the offense as well. Irfan Shahid also said, and please, if I'm pronouncing anyone's names wrong, please let me know in the chat. Sat Shaw also from Vancouver reporting that Canes might not where he wants to be. Guys, if they were wrong, why isn't the deal done? LOL. What's the holdup, guys? Good question, buddy. We thought it was done. We thought that this had, I won't say we, I thought that everything was kosher and they were just waiting to smooth out some last little details, and then it was going to be all done. I really thought that was it.
I don't think he wants to be here. At this point, I think it's obvious.
He's using us for a bargaining chip. That's what it's starting to look like.
Which is going to piss me off.
Yeah. And because at that point, it's not the organization's fault in terms of ponying up the money, at least.
No. And again, at that point, it's like, okay.
Irfan Saeed also says, when Jake wanted that, you said no, so the Canes are wasting his time.
No, we're giving him what he wants. We're not wasting his time. He's wasting our time.
His camp wanted 8x8, and we said, okay, bet, here it is. And Ron Davidson says, dump and chase is just an option, not the only style being pushed. Carrying the puck in with possession is always the first choice. Absolutely. I just want to see clean entries happen more, especially on the power play.
But you're about to lose the best guy when it comes to that. And that's an unfortunate reality. Speaking of, Eric Tolsky and Rob Brindamore are on the camera. Eric Tolsky looked directly into the camera. That was funny.
I don't see them now. I see Edna Node from The Incredibles and the kid that Boston just drafted is what I see on the TV at the moment.
Yeah, no, the table right behind that's ours.
Okay.
And Tulski looked past Rod to the camera. That was funny.
Matthew Powell says, I don't think that offense was the issue in the playoffs. Special teams and goaltending were. Yeah, when I say offense was the issue in the playoffs, I'm primarily talking about on the power play. 5-on-5, it wasn't bad. I would have liked for it to have been a little bit better, but the special teams thing, we should have at least won the penalty killing aspect of that, and we didn't. The penalty kill was 72% in the second round versus the Rangers. That should not have happened. Irfan Shaheed says, Jim Benning and Jake, hello. Jake will not be going to New York, LOL. He knows he wants to be in Vancouver. I would rather him go out west than go to any team in the East, especially in the Metropolitan Division, especially a team we will probably see in the playoffs again.
Oh, yeah.
Best case scenario, if he goes to Chicago, I don't give a fuck if he does, just out of the simple fact that, by the time that they're competitive and competing for a playoff spot, our cup window is going to be closed again anyway, so it'll be a non-factor if he goes to Chicago, for example.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and also, Carolina is on the clock.
All right, boys, we'll put a pin in everything, and we're going to see what we do here. Let's see. Were any of these mock drafts right that I pulled up? No, none of them. Everybody that was on all my mock drafts that I wrote down, they're all off the board.
No, so we'll see what happens. If no one there that Carolina wants to move the pick.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm waiting on, is them to move the pick. And then
at this point,
I don't care.
I don't know. Sam, what do you think? You move the pick? Move
I
down?
don't care at this point. I mean, if they move the pick to get a player, I wouldn't be disappointed.
Move the pick to get a player? What do you think?
Seriously.
If you're Carolina, I don't see a point in making this pick, to be honest with you. You had a chance to get the center you needed, and the Boston Bruins are poverty franchise, took your player.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they call us that, I have every right to call them that in return. But,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I we're trying to be good now. We got lucky, I guess, and we did end up having to give up more than a second for Guentzel, and we already have a second anyway. So,
the thing is, they're not going to trade it because they know there's going to be lots of turnover. So they're going to make the safe bets here.
All right, boys. Let's see what we got here, and then we'll get back to the comments here in a second. But let's see what we're gonna do here with this pick.
All I want is my computer to last long enough to get this pick over. Then
do me a favor. I think my stream's a little bit behind you guys. Hold your thoughts for about 15 to 20 seconds after the pick is made, please.
Yep. Not a problem.
Because this is the one thing I don't want spoiled tonight. Because people were saying stuff that was happening before I saw it, and I didn't care. But this is the one thing that I don't want spoiled.
I won't say a word.
Well, now I'm getting a goddamn Allstate commercial, so
that's okay. I'm getting commercial too, but it's a gambling commercial. What is good old Max saying?
Oh, Tanner Howe.
Canes are trading this pick.
They are.
So I was right. So if the Carolina Hurricanes are involved in a trade, it is being moved. This is according to Frank Saravelli. Also, when they announce the trade, I'm going to turn the volume on. Is that going to affect anything?
No, that's fine. I just chose to not have the volume on and have the closed captioning on, just so it would be easier for me to keep up with everything. So yeah, you can have the volume on. I don't care.
I want to wait for that to go done first. I mean, we'll see what that trade is. Looks like it's going to Chicago. It's nothing on TV. It's just if you looked at Saravelli's tweeting these things out.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt texted us in our group chat. That's how I know about it. Yeah, he texted that tweet.
Okay, what are we getting back for this pick? Lower picks?
I'm sure. I think that makes sense. Again, I think it makes this makes a lot of sense. This is a Tulski move and a move we've made in the past. Again, the guy they probably wanted was the guy that Boston drafted, and they didn't want to pay the price to move up to that pick to get him, so you're just moving on. Let's see. Trade. Trade pick swap. Okay, nothing specific.
All right. And while we're on commercial, I'll get a couple more comments in here. Rod Davidson says Tarasenko isn't all that anymore and has never been a great two-way player. That's true, but he's also got a Stanley Cup now. I mean, he went to the right place. He made $5 million to do it.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if he's going to keep playing. I mean, he could keep playing, but if he wanted to hang it up right now, he ain't got nothing else to prove. He's got 2 cups. Matthew Powell says, I also think there's a difference between a season success and a total failure. The Rangers were the better overall team, and we wouldn't have beaten the Panthers. The roster we had should have got it done. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's make sure that Frank Saravelli was right.
Trade alert. I like the trade alert thing they have on this.
That is cool, yeah. The sphere looks really damn cool. Bettman's having withdrawals right now. Shaking like a leaf.
Trade Hornet. That's funny.
Trades the 27th pick in this year's draft to Chicago for picks number 34 and 50. Also this year,
34 is not bad, though. I mean, we got Aho at 35th.
with 34 and 50, Chicago, you're on.
Gives me a lot of reason to watch the draft tomorrow.
We got 2 picks in the second round of the NHL draft, one early on. Well,
so now you have,
At that point, that was the most rational thing to do. You're right. Like, 2 picks in the second round is better than 1 in the first with the position we're in, because we got all these prospects and stuff that are going to be NHL ready, if not this season, the season after. We might as well just keep loading up futures.
there's Tom Duggan in sweats.
Yeah, and then Brenda Moore in a 3-piece suit. I have a suit that looks exactly like that. It's the exact same shade of gray.
I'm not surprised. I'm not.
well, my computer is about to die now. I have a crappy battery, so it is going. So nothing exciting has happened.
Yeah.
And you should probably kick your Fansah Shahid out because he is just trolling the crap out of you.
Let me see what's he saying.
So yeah, we have 3 second round picks.
Yeah, this guy's being a piece of shit. I'm just going to kick him.
Bye.
That dude was just being a cunt. I'm not. I don't mind people coming in here and having respectful disagreements, because I have plenty of people who are fans of other teams that watch stuff with me, and they come in here and they ask questions and say whatever. I'll just make this abundantly clear. Part of the reason I made an account on X was so that if you have a problem with anything I say, you can address me over there. Don't bring it on my goddamn YouTube channel. If you have a problem with anything I say, come over there, and if I feel like that I'm going to waste my time arguing with you, I'll do it over there. That's what it's for. The YouTube channel, on the other hand, ain't for that. So that's the venue for you to come and bitch at me and say shit to me that you wouldn't say to my face in real life. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, an eventful night? Question mark?
I'm not for us. Like, everything they said was going to happen didn't fucking happen.
Yeah. I mean,
that I'm pretty sure that Irfan Shahid guy was probably like some sort of goddamn. He was either a Daily Face-Off employee or someone who stands for them. I don't fuck with Daily Face-Off that much because I don't like the Arizona guy and I don't like Saravelli. Like, that was the one time he was right through this whole thing, was what he said just now about, the whole thing with, the pick getting traded to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, okay. Do we have something else going down? No. Okay. Well, it's been fun, but I am down to about 5 minutes of battery. So I just got my battery saver on. It's been fun. I'm sure we will talk tomorrow, because tomorrow is a busy day.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very busy day. A lot of work to do. Shut things down with Guentzel or get the deal done. And that needs to happen before 11:30.
Yeah.
So make your decision. If you don't, then just trade him for whatever the heck you can get, because, why not? And go out, get a good player, a couple good players, and get some work done, because it's business. a lot of business to deal with.
Yeah,
next.
I mean, if we don't bring Guentzel and Necas both back, there's no reason we can't pony up the money to keep Shea. You might as well keep your defense intact at that point. Because whether it's Morrow or whether it's D'Angelo on his right, at that point, you might as well keep Shea. At least you keep your defense intact minus Pesci, and I'm not willing to pay Pesci more than 5x5. If he really wanted to stay here, he should have took that last season. And I'm a very big Brett Pesci fan.
I mean, well, one, Pesci's gone. I mean, I think he's gone, but yeah, Shea needs to come. I mean, at that point, if you're not doing that, if Necas is gone, again, it goes back to my question, because right now it looks like I think that's the most likely situation. If Necas is gone, Jake is gone, Tavo is gone. Right now, I think that is the more likely scenario. Where's the offense coming from?
Well, I mean, if we lose everybody up front, Tavo's probably going to stay. I really think that, like, it's not a fact of he doesn't fit here. It's just a fact of he's, not as much of a priority as Nason, Martinook, and guys like that. But if Nason's gone, Guentzel's gone, and Necas is gone, Teravainen's going to stay. At that point, it's kind of like you just give him the same contract he had before and be done with it.
I also heard I listened to Adam Gold's thing today, a little bit of it, didn't finish the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It sounds like it is very likely that Jordan Martinook is going to hit free agency, and it is more likely that Jordan Martinook will not be here next year.
Jordan Martinook won't be here?
Sounds like we are off with them by, I think, a little over $1 million. So there is
Jordan Martinook won't stay with the goddamn Carolina Hurricanes.
Sounds like that is more likely of the situation.
Holy
Jordan
fuck,
Martinook
that's not good.
Will not be with the Carolina Hurricanes next year. He is going to go to free agency because he is going to get paid more.
If Jordan Martinook doesn't want to come back, we've got some fucking problems.
I don't know if it's that he doesn't want to come back as much as I think what we're offering him, he knows he's going to get more. And I hope that's wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Adam Gold is wrong. Mm-hmm. Because right now we've only signed one guy. That's a UFA. We're about to lose everybody else.
Okay, let me caveat this again. If we lose all those guys aforementioned and Jordan Martinook, there's no reason they can't pay Shea.
Yeah.
At least keep the defense intact, please.
True. Well, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for your hospitality as always.
Absolutely.
A man of good taste.
Absolutely. Monday night, I'll do a free agency and draft recap, and it'll be the same thing. You guys will have an open-ended invite. You can come and go as you please.
Sounds good to me. I'm sure it'll be a very busy day. I look forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully we have something good to talk about, man, because this has been pretty fucking disappointing.
Yeah, and when they showed the Hurricanes table, they were all smiles. And I'm like, I want to throw a drink in your face because you haven't done squat. Shouldn't be smiling. We had a lot of work to do.
Maybe they know something we don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
We will find out. And I would say 24 to 48 hours. We'll know about Jake Guentzel, and I say about the next 12 hours. I think that's fair. He's not signed by 11:30, which is about 13 hours. We'll know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm thinking about getting on X and adding Frank Saravelli and telling him not to send his fucking minions after me. If his fat ass has a problem with anything I'm saying, say it to me your fucking self. I mean, like, I will meet you at your favorite buffet and we can fucking talk about it.
I mean, hey, fair enough. I will see you Monday. Hopefully we have some good news to talk about.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, buddy. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too, pal. You're always welcome here.
Thank you.
All right, we will continue going through the comments, and this goes for Canes fans and non-Canes fans alike because I have plenty of non-Canes fans who come through here. I have a really high amount of Rangers and Caps fans, which I know is pretty fucking surprising. It's totally okay if you disagree with me. There's times I'm wrong about shit. I rewatch my own live streams, and I won't do it with this one because it's 3.5 goddamn hours. I rewatch my own live streams and videos and stuff all the time to see how I can improve things. And there's times where I make mistakes and there's times where I assess things incorrectly. Feel free to disagree with me. If you come in here just to talk shit and fuck with me and everything like that, then, I made an account on X so that could be done over there. That's not what the YouTube channel is for. I'm just making that abundantly clear. So that's why I kicked that guy out of the chat. People who just offer disagreements for the, constructive criticism, everything like that, you'll never get kicked. That'll never be a problem. There's plenty of times I've disagreed with the subscribers because I didn't want to just build a YouTube channel. I wanted to build a community because I feel like Hurricanes fans are underrepresented, and so does the Caniac Report and so does Caniac Sessions, and that's why we're trying to make something much larger between the three of us. So guys like him, when I realized he was trolling, that's why I kicked him out. As long as you don't act like that, you will always be welcome here. You'll never be kicked regardless of how much we disagree about anything. So I'm just going to make that abundantly clear, and I'm going to keep going through the comments here and everything like that, because as far as the Hurricanes input into this evening, that's pretty much done. So Matthew Powell says, I also think there's a difference between a season success and a total failure. The Rangers were the better overall team, and we wouldn't have beaten the Panthers. Yeah, I mean, on paper, we had the roster to do that, and then the special teams just dried up when we needed them to, particularly like, partially the power play, the penalty kill was hurt by Brett Pesce being out, but it still should have been good enough on its own, even without Brett Pesce, to get the job done. If he'd been in the lineup, it might have been a different story, because like a lot of people don't like Brett Pesce. I do. And while he may have lost a step, he's also had a lot of injuries. He blocks a lot of shots, and he has a very, he doesn't play as physical as he did when he was younger, but a lot of players do that where they have to taper off the physicality as they're older. Not to mention they start training differently, like how they apply themselves in the weight room when they do cardio versus anaerobics and all that type of stuff. They change that type of stuff as they get older. Jordan Eberle talked about that in an interview one time, and I thought it was, really insightful in that regard. Matthew Powell also says, I mean, there's more options than a season success. There has to be something in the middle. That's how I quantify the last 3 seasons. Relatively successful, something to build on and everything like that. But if we're really talking about Jordan Martinook not wanting to stay with the Canes just from a monetary aspect, I'm going to be a little bit worried about that. Ron Davidson says, winning the Cup is extremely, extremely hard. Yes, let me make one thing abundantly clear. Winning the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy in professional sports to win. Anybody who disagrees with that has no idea what they're talking about. The Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win. That's one of the reasons I would like the regular season to be shorter, but that's a different discussion entirely, and that could go on for hours. I figured out that guy was just trolling because when Sam started telling me the other stuff he was saying, that's why I kicked him. I'm not going to deal with that type of shit. Ron Davidson says strong forecheck is different than dump and chase. You're absolutely right about that. Forechecking is for zone retention and preventing exits and everything like that. You can still get clean entries, lose possession of the puck, forecheck well, and get it back. But you at least still had the clean entry, and more often than not, you'll more likely generate offense off of doing that. So that's the one thing I want to see out of the Canes more next year is clean entries and everything like that. Matthew Powell also says Guentzel got 25 points in 17 games with us. If he thinks he can put up points, if he thinks he can't put up points here, he's being really stupid. I'm starting to wonder what Guentzel's deal is, bro. I'm going to be totally real about it because, it's like there's also the factor of like, if I got to find it again, but there was one article that Aho did an interview in, and he actually didn't know about the offer sheet. He was doing some sponsorship commitments in Finland when he was doing this interview. And he said he actually didn't know about it. And he was nervous at first that the Hurricanes weren't going to match it, but he's our franchise player. So at least, as far as the forwards are concerned. So like, I wasn't too terribly worried about Dundon not matching that. And the only reason that they tied up the whole 7 days was basically to fuck with Montreal. Dylan says, let Tim get the PP. If you're referring to Tim Gleason, I'm not opposed to that. I'm sure that there's a possibility he could figure it out, but I don't think he ever was utilized on the power play as a player. Not that I remember anyway. That was a long time ago, but I don't think he did. But I mean, maybe he could figure something out with it. But either way, I think that they need to consider outsourcing that to a power play coach or something. There needs to be something different there because it keeps going cold at the wrong times, particularly in this past season and 2022. The power play went cold when we needed it the most. Ron Davidson says, how many power play goals did Florida have in the finals? I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. So I actually don't have the answer for that question. So Matthew Powell says, I don't know what. Anything regarding that troll guy, I'm not gonna bother with. Nate just hadn't shown enough defensive reliability to play center. I understand where a lot of people are coming from with that, but it's kind of like the way that I defend Tony DeAngelo. He is one of those guys that contributes to the team by pinching, keeping the play at the other end of the ice, defensive zone exits, and helping on transition plays and jumping in the rush. I think that Necas is kind of that same player, just at a different position. I don't think it would hurt to try him for a few games just to see how it pans out, because I know he wants to play that. And I feel like he's a good enough player to at least give him a shot there. I do understand the concerns about the defensive competency. I really do. I'm a defense first mindset myself, but I would really, really, really like to see him just try there for a few games just so we can definitively rule it out that he will not work there. That's the only reason why I'm saying do it so that way, because we don't know, because we haven't really tried it for a sustained amount of time. But I want to definitively know for sure that Nate just cannot play that position with any defensive competency, because you'll be surprised in times where players are opened up and they don't feel like they're relegated to one half of the ice, at least in the neutral zone and the defensive zone, how much better they could potentially play in those particular situations. So I understand where you're coming from, Ron, but I really, really think that just for the sake of ruling it out, if nothing else, to give Nate just a shot there if he is with the Hurricanes next season. Coconut Kyle, welcome back, buddy. Ironic, Peter and RBA didn't get along when they were together in 06. No, and that was something Brind'Amour said in an interview one time. He said that him and Labby did not get along at first, like at all. And that's surprising considering they were able to come together and win the cup and everything like that. And another thing we have to consider when it comes to Brind'Amour, not just the goalies that the Hurricanes have had to be up against in the last few years, such as Tuukka Rask, Igor Shesterkin, and Andrei Vasilevsky, and Sergei Bobrovsky. Brind'Amour, in the last 2 times he's been in the playoffs, he's been eliminated by guys who coached him. If anybody's going to know how to beat him, it's going to be Paul Maurice and Peter Laviolette. So now he's got to flip the script and learn how to beat them. But part of that was just kind of bad luck because, you know, you go into the conference finals against the Panthers last season, and Paul Maurice kind of already has an advantage there in terms of coaching because he has an idea of how to beat Brind'Amour in a way because he coached him. So he understands to some degree, at least, his mindset, how he could potentially beat him and everything like that. Anderson let in way too many soft goals in that Ranger series also. Yes, I agree with that. There were times where the Hurricanes needed timely saves from Frederik Andersen, and they did not get them. Game 6 was painful, like that second one in particular he let in, the one where Kreider just kind of, stuffed it in over his pad. That hurt because I was sitting, I think it's 115, me and AB sit in, and I could see that happening. And I'm like, that's not good. When Freddie Andersen is not sealing the post, this is one thing I've noticed over the last few years as he's been playing with Carolina. I don't know how it was when he was in Toronto or Anaheim. It seems like Freddie Andersen, if he's off his game for whatever reason, whether it's mental, whether it's an injury, whatever, he doesn't like to seal the post when he's off his game. So I think that might be the case. LOL, they took Dean. Matthew Powell says we will get a choice Russian though. Yeah, and then they ended up trading the pick. So I'm curious to see what they do tomorrow. I'll get to watch it at work. Dylan also says it's going to be Nikita Guy, isn't it? I'm going to take a look at the draft order real quick to get caught up while we were doing all the other stuff. So Dallas picked Emil Hemming. So the only picks remaining are 30, which is the New York Rangers, 31, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and 32, the Philadelphia Flyers. The 31st pick is from Anaheim, acquired via trade, and the 32nd pick is from Florida, acquired via trade in regards to the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's get back here. You don't pick a fourth liner in the first round. I wouldn't. No, like you need to pick somebody like if they're not in your top 4 defense or your top 6 or a goalie you think has starting potential, then you don't pick them in the first round. I absolutely agree. I see a Bettman. I boo a Bettman. You're doing the Lord's work, sir. Good job. Ron Davidson says Stamkos is 34, unfortunately, and they could have decided on terms with Jake, and everyone decided to iron it out in the morning. That's a distinct possibility, too, because the organization has a lot of moving pieces right now, and considering that Brind'Amour and Tulsky and York and all those guys are in Vegas right now, they probably said, okay, 8x8, we agree on that. We'll hammer out the trade protection and whatever else in the morning. And we're on the these are from the actual pick. Watch us trade down. I mean, that's what we did. But, 2 second rounders, like you could potentially find a couple of like important players there. Always remember, Aho was the second rounder. Slavin was in the 4th round. Pesci was in the 3rd. So you can always find good players in those later rounds. And I have a lot more confidence in the scouting and the drafting than I ever had in this team prior to 2019, prior to Dundon owning the team. Dylan Bollinger says, of course, commercial. Yeah, the league hates us. Anthony Connor, this is one of my best friends in the whole world. I was at his wedding. He's a Caps fan, but we won't hold that against him. I hope you and your wife and the puppy are having a really, really good evening, buddy. 2 cups for Tarasenko, yeah. I don't see the point in trading back. I do not agree. I don't know what they're doing right now, dude. I got to wait and see how it all pans out. I think this is dumb. Yeah, I'm not sure, dude. I gotta see how it pans out. I'm wondering why they didn't pick somebody with that. That being said, last season I expected them to trade down more than I did this season, and they drafted Bradley Nadeau, and he looks like he's going to be part of the future. So we made a trade. Too bad it sucked. Give it time. We'll see what happens here. What a shitty day. No Guentzel, no Traces, no Nature's trade, no first pick. Boo. I was hoping something would get done today. I at least wanted Guentzel to get signed, but maybe if he's really just using us as leverage to get more money in Vancouver or Chicago or somewhere else, maybe he's not the type of character guy we want. Maybe we just have to come to terms with that and accept the fact that if our front office was willing to pay him 8x8, they will go out and do what they need to do on the trade market to make this team competitive. The Washington Capitals are trying to stay competitive right now, and they're like half their team is on Social Security. This team can stay competitive if the front office makes the right moves, i.e. Ehlers, Duclair, guys like that. Matthew Powell said, yeah, like I said, rank 16 through 50 are very close, so trading down makes sense. Yeah, and, it's like with 2 picks in the 2nd round, you could potentially have 2 guys who are prepared to be roster players in 2 to 4 seasons at the most, depending on, if you get guys that are in North America that are going to be playing juniors or going back to college, or if you get guys overseas who can play overseas, or you can put them in the American Hockey League and not have to worry about, having to send them back to juniors or something like that because they come from overseas and you don't have to worry about that rule. J-Dub says bad trade. We'll see. Let's let it pan out. I'm not entirely sure how all this is going to work. Today did not go how anybody expected it to go. I think Chicago picks a defenseman. Let's see, who did they pick? Let me go back to the Marek Vanacker, who is playing in Brantford in the Ontario Hockey League, and he's a left winger. So they didn't pick a defenseman, which kind of surprises me. Yeah, let's wait and see how the trading down pans out. It's not something we're going to see the dividends of immediately, and y'all know me, I'm not an apologist for this team. Like, if I think they fuck up, I will say so. But today is not going the way that I thought it would. Matthew Powell says, but I'll sign off now. Good night, all. Thank you for joining us. Even if you watch the rest of this retroactively and see this, thank you very much. I'm happy we waited. Lewis the Bassman says, baffled. Don't get it, guys. I don't know what's going on right now. I really don't. I'm hoping all this stuff will be hammered out at some point tomorrow, and we at least have an idea of that, whether we need to go out and get somebody to replace Guentzel or what. Keep Tabo. I agree. If we lose enough players, we're going to have to. Ron Davidson says, would you put Nikishin on the 3rd line or Shea, or does one of them play their offside? So Shea is capable of playing his offside. Orlov is as well. Nikishin is as well. He actually played his offside at the Olympics last time that he was there with the Olympic athletes from Russia. That being said, I think that Carolina does not build a 1, 2, and 3 defense. They try to make things as evenly as possible throughout the pairs. So basically every pair is an offensive defenseman and a shutdown defenseman. And the one exception being to that is Shea, who I feel like is equally valuable in all areas of the ice, and he has a really good 2-way game. That being said, someone like Nikishin could play his offside and have someone like Shea who can cover anytime that he makes those high-risk, high-reward plays, but also generate some offense of his own, really help out with the zone exits, help out with the stretch passes, help out with the entries at the other end. I really feel like him and Shea could be a good pair. That being said, I think that one of the reasons why the Hurricanes signed Chatfield was to be the guy to the right of Alexander Nikishin, potentially. I really think that that's a high probability. So that's what I think is going to happen, that basically it'll be one pair of Slavin and, say, Morrow, and then the other pair would be like Nikishin and Chatfield, and those are not necessarily 1 and 2. It's like a 1A, 1B, depending on the situation you need them in. The way Carolina likes to build the defense, it's basically like they have 2 first pairs and a really good second pair, and they evenly distribute things as much as possible. That's why I'm hoping that if we're really going to let all these guys from the forward group walk, we might as well keep the defense intact and at least keep Shea. So Anthony Conard says Martinook leaving would be a kick in the you-know-what. That's one thing I'm not really expecting. I was thinking that he was going to stay regardless because of how much he loves playing for Rod. That's what he says anyway. So Pat the Ref says if Martinook can get a 4 times contract elsewhere, our max is 3 years in my opinion. I think 3x3 would be fine for Martinook. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. I'm actually kind of worried about that. Coconut Kyle says he's shown he's worth more with his effort. Martinook, that is. Yeah, that's why I'm hoping he stays. I really don't want Martinook to leave. Like that would be a bigger surprise to me than anything if Martinook leaves. I'll just be straight with you guys. Like he doesn't put up numbers all the time, but when you play heart and soul games like that, guys turn into heroes at the right times, like he did, particularly in the second round against the Devils last season. So that's why I'm like really confused about the idea of Martinook leaving. Pat the Ref says he has been healthy the past couple of years, so I agree. Yeah, that definitely is a factor in it because he dealt with some injury issues before that. I remember a couple of years ago. Buffet beef, I love it. I had tacos tonight. They didn't have any beef on them, but my girlfriend made them with jackfruit, which, it tastes like meat. You can't tell that it's not, so I'm almost caught up here. Awesome. Ron Davidson says Adam Gold said he could see Martinook getting offered 4x3 to 3.5 somewhere, and the Kings probably wouldn't go that far. That would be a mistake on the part of the organization if they don't offer Martinook that. The only way I'd be okay with that is if Guentzel stays. That's the only reason I'd be all right with that. Dylan Bollinger says, I didn't see what happened. Who said what? There was some guy in here he was just being a douchebag for no fucking reason. Probably one of the minions of Saravelli, which, all I said was I don't like daily face-off that much, and that the guy hasn't been right about a lot of shit lately. He said Necas was going to get traded before the first game of the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, the first round of the 2024 NHL draft is almost over, and Martin Necas is still property of the Carolina Hurricanes. Just for an example of one of the many things he's been wrong about lately. He always says this is going to happen, that's going to happen. The first thing he's been right about tonight is Carolina trading that pick to Chicago. And lo and behold, that happened, but we have a history of trading down to get more picks. So, that's nothing new. Dallas is up. Did I miss that already? Yeah. Because let's see, 31 Toronto and then 32 Philadelphia. So Toronto's making their pick now. Alex Serber, welcome back, buddy. What's the word on Necas just turned in after the Canes traded the pick? Your guess is as good as mine, bud. I thought that, they kept saying he was going to get traded on the floor. LeBrun said stuff about that. Saravelli has said stuff about that, and it hasn't happened. So I don't know what's going to happen. If Necas is going to stay, I say give him a shot at center. 10 games. If he really fucks up before that, pull him and put him back on the wing. Trade him, whatever. But give him a shot there. I may be wrong about that. I could potentially be wrong about that because everything I say and every decision I would make theoretically is completely inconsequential to anything other than people saying that I was right or wrong about something. And that's no big deal to me. When someone like Brind'Amour has to make that decision, it's consequential to him because it's his job to make sure he makes the right decision and he doesn't purposely make the incorrect decision. His reasons for not putting Necas there, I know, has to do with the defensive side of things. So I think that, he doesn't make bad decisions on purpose. He doesn't wake up in the morning and say, how can I fuck up the Carolina Hurricanes? That's not his thing. But we will see. Ron Davidson says Florida only had a couple of power play goals in the finals. Their power play went cold too. Okay, yeah, see, I didn't know that. So, because I watched the finals here and there, I didn't really keep up with it. The first 2 games, I didn't watch at all. I barely watched game 3. I watched game 4 because I was anticipating it was going to be the last hockey game of the season. I did the same with game 5 and I did the same with game 6. And I go, wow, this went from being one of the least interesting Stanley Cup finals in history to one of the most interesting. And then I fell asleep with 18 minutes left in the third period in game 7. So yeah, I mean, I would prefer the Hurricanes power play not go cold at all though, because I mean, if it had just, I mean, hell, 2 power play goals in the first few games, and they would have won the series against the Rangers in 6. At a minimum, they would have pushed it to 7. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball to look in and tell you, but 0 for 15 in the first 3 games did not do Carolina any favors, and especially considering the penalty kill fell down to like 72% or whatever it was. So we will see what they do. All right, so Toronto is making their pick. They picked Ben Danford from the Oshawa Generals. He's a defenseman. And then after that, pretty much all we got left is Philadelphia at 32. And then we will call it a night. Because I am tired, I'm thirsty, and I have to work tomorrow. I'm wore out. Dog's laying over there just curled up in a little ball. Regardless of the fact that nothing really happened with the Hurricanes tonight, it has been an absolute pleasure being on here for damn near 4 hours with all you guys. I've really enjoyed it. Ron Davidson says 10 picks tomorrow. And Eric says, I don't know. The scouting department always finds gems, but then they take years to get close to NHL ready. Maintaining prospect depth is good, but it also does not help the immediate on ice product. No, it does not. And that's part of the reason why I'm hoping that they'll sign Guentzel and give the kids time to develop. You know, keep Martinook, keep Nason if you can, or Teravainen if you have to. There's some combination of keeping some of the UFAs we have now so that we keep a competitive roster on the ice, and then we can integrate the prospects as time goes on and everything like that. So we'll wait and see what happens and everything. But tonight was rather uneventful in regards to the Canes. So that being said, though, after nearly 4 hours of being on here, I'm going to call it a night. I want to give a special thanks to my guests, Sam and Sam. And above all, everybody who tuned in to join us, everyone who contributed in the comments, except that Irfan Shahid guy, he can go fuck himself. Everybody else who came in, interacted. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please leave me comments. Let me know what you think and everything like that. I personally am wore the fuck out, but I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for stopping by. But I'm going to call it a night. Thank you so much for everything, all of you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, good night to you too, Dylan. Yeah, thank you guys. We'll do something on Monday night, but you guys as an audience make this fun and make it worth doing. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I can't express that enough. All right, guys. We'll hope for better things tomorrow, but I'm going to end the stream now. See y'all later. Y'all take care.